787.
787 departure frequency 95 will be 1257.
257, thanks.
Did I ever tell you about the podcast I did with Tyler Schallenberg?
Oh, don't do that,
Dude, it was awesome.
Oh,
And we talked about the tragic prelude drama that went on where they like split up and everything, and he apologized on the podcast like for his role to Jimmy on it, and it was really deep, and yeah, none of it recorded. It was static. It was just because I had everything set up,
yeah.
and when he came or before he came over, I put the computer to sleep, and so it cut that off. It cut off the audio, and then when he came over, I just started it up and didn't do a nice mic check like I've done.
That's a Jameson issue right there.
Yeah,
straight up. No offense.
Yeah, I felt so bad.
You know,
so bad.
So
yeah.
I feel a little naked without pen and paper.
You need some?
Oh, dude,
You know?
I got a whole notebook right here.
But now let's roll with it.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, welcome back to SciFi and Friends podcast. The podcast has been on a little bit of a hiatus just because this room has been mining cryptocurrency and it gets very hot and very loud.
You got another pen for Nick?
But I have removed the miners. I just unplugged them. Huh?
That's your pen.
No, that's my pen.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
You think I'm going to give him Excalibur right here?
I didn't know.
I mean, it is Nick Bahner. And maybe I'll let you try this pin out, but dude,
that's Excalibur.
Once again,
Yeah.
the grand
That's
introduction and the epic fail. And
Yeah.
the rest of the podcast
Yeah.
is just absolutely pathetic.
good vibes. Good. This podcast is about good vibes. Touch
Hold
that.
on,
Touch
hold
it. You can't see it on camera, but he's grabbing the
lava lamp.
the what is that Himalayan salt?
Leave it to
the
Casey to be
Himalayan
devil
salt.
fisting over here. I thought you were cutting back, man. I mean, you're back in 34s, aren't you?
I don't know what's
No,
going
he's still in 36s.
See, Casey doesn't have a camera. Should we get a camera for you?
No, it's too late. Let's boogie.
So you're just gonna hear Casey's voice, but he's here. Casey Seifert's here.
Yeah.
And then the legendary, the mythological, the demigod, Nicholas Bahner.
Yeah.
El Bonnel.
El Bahner.
Actually, that's a little bit French. It's more German.
You need
Yeah.
to work on the German.
Bonnel.
Yeah.
You see his eyes pop open. It's like, whoa.
Yes, that's the one.
Autobahn?
Yeah. Dude,
What was that?
I don't know.
Oh.
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Oh, man.
It's nice to have you closer. Where exactly in Arkansas are you?
We're in the northwest region.
I know that's like Bentonville, Fayetteville,
all that.
Rogers.
Yeah,
Oh, so you could be anywhere in there.
Yeah, so we've been in the RV for a couple of years, and so right now we landed in Cave Springs because there's a golf course there,
Yeah.
and you can stay there long term until we find a more permanent residence. So, but we've expanded our search. We were kind of obsessed with Bentonville. Their schools are amazing. The area is obviously super hipster and a lot going on, but apparently the secret's out and everybody else knows that. It's
Are you a
been
mountain
out.
biker?
We're super late. No, I'm a dirt biker. I kind of a lazy biker. I want to just twist the throttle. I don't want to move like that, you know?
Right. More Travis Pastrana than you are like
Yeah,
Dave
I mean, think
Mirra.
about that, dude. I just wrist actions.
That's all it is.
I mean,
He's going to be on the Bentonville bike trails with his dirt bike.
no. No.
The Walton boys are going to be like,
Absolutely.
Get him out of here.
Dude.
So get the send the helicopter.
Yeah, they've got the cell phones for every local cop in the area,
So
you know.
they have dirt bike places in Arkansas?
Nah, down in Mill Creek. It's like an hour and a half south. So the dirt
day
biking
trip.
scene is moderate at best, but that's okay. Yeah. I
'Cause you
mean,
need-
I definitely think I could get into the mountain bike scene just because,
It's going to be in your backyard.
dude, have you been down there and seen what it's
Not in a long time.
It's redonkulous.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's absurd. It truly the word is absurd because it's in public.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the park. Did you see that thing I posted on Instagram where that little? I think it's called a flow track. It's
kids.
It's a concrete track with berms and whoops, and you just flow through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just.
like with a mountain bike.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Eli, my youngest, was on a BMX bike because that's all we
kinda
have
fun.
right now. But man, it was so cool. But
Yeah, that sounds
the
actually
whole
pretty
area is just, I mean, it's just littered with mountain bike trails.
Yeah,
So to not partake in that,
Yeah. It's like living in Huntington Beach and not going to the beach.
sweet. Right.
Like you're right there.
or living in Vegas and never seen any of the shows.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The Walton brothers are huge mountain bikers, and so they've dumped in over $100 million to develop these trails. Yeah, these trails like this Slaughterbawn. Yeah, 5 best mountain bike
That
trails.
looks awesome.
So
yeah, I've been on that trail.
And there's signs, dude, that literally say I think it's called Slaughter Pin.
Slaughter Pin, that's right.
Yeah, and that's like world famous. This is actually a national venue for the mountain biking tour. For like, I mean, it's in the mountain biking world. You mentioned Bentonville, they'll know right where you're at.
And how far is this from where you are?
Your backyard.
I think that you are amongst the trails.
Wow.
The trails aren't amongst the
You
people.
just jump on
There
something.
There are so many.
So-
You hear me? Like, you are surrounded by mountain bike trails,
yeah.
and everybody. What I think I loved most, and what was important to me moving into the area, just because I love,
Outdoor activities.
I like the, like ho-hos and donuts
Oh.
and cinnamon rolls
Yeah.
and anything you can just stuff in your face.
Right.
And so I definitely can just sit around and do a bunch of nothing.
Right.
And I'm a big product of my environment. And so it was cool coming into that scene down there because everybody's out doing something. They have this thing down there called the Razorback Greenway. Turns out it's 36 miles from, I don't know if it starts in Bella Vista or Bentonville, it doesn't matter, but it goes all the way to Fayetteville. And dude, it is just professionally made. I mean, just cycling, running, biking, whatever you want trails, but it just meanders and it follows kind of the creek. So 1 minute you're just in the woods and then you're at like somebody butted up to get somebody's farmland and there's just cows right there. And then like other times there's industry and there's warehouses right there. And this thing and it's up and down. And everybody's just out on that. But I went and ran it the other day and I just kept getting that whole field of dreams. Like it was just from just from a regional planning standpoint, just like dude, they knew that. Like if we build this, people will come, because everybody wants that.
Right.
Everyone wants to be outside doing something. Everyone wants good coffee and good whiskey.
Right. Yeah, a lot of microbreweries down there and stuff. We were down there. We filmed the Eureka Springs Enduro race.
Yeah.
And 90% of the people that I ran into were transplants from the Northwest, from Cali, from Colorado, and they moved there for mountain biking. Like they were in it for some mountain biking reason. Like I heard guys talking like, "Oh, I worked in a shop for 10 years and I've moved here. I've been here for 6 months."
It's trippy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to finish that Walton story, the Walton boys dumped $100 million, made or more, or a ton of money into making these trails, and that's phase 1. And in phase 2 or phase 3 is another 100, 200 million, and they're going to build more trails, and they're going to build an artificial tree that you ride to, like as the mecca, and the artificial tree at the very top has a microbrewery bar for all bikers.
Good Lord.
So if you can as I understand it, and I'm not a mountain biker, but what you could do is you could go there, live there, go there, ride all day, and the way that the trails are set up is that you'd ride, and then at the very end of the day, you kind of make your way to the tree and then have drinks with all your buddies.
Dude, this
and
reminds me of
other bikers.
What's the Cameron movie that came out where they have the huge
Left
tree?
Behind.
No.
Oh.
No, not that Cameron.
Oh, Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar. The big tree at the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the tree of life.
Yeah. That's like Lion King.
Oh. This is going to be bad.
Home Tree, I think is what they called it. Home Tree, and then the humans blew it up.
A Bug's Life. A Bug's Life had a nice big tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where Hopper would kick his leg in.
I'm just going to have to
when the grasshoppers came in.
I feel like your memory, like your RAM gets destroyed when you have children. It's like the information is like definitely seated on your brain tissue, but like it's like fuzzy access issues. Like your RAM's been hijacked. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
And I'll have it's such a bummer when you like want to be an articulate person. It's so.
That's why I tried to make you some good coffee.
Oh, dude, it just depends on the day, bro. You know, what I mean?
Could get you some Alpha Brain.
Yeah.
I'm
down for whatever.
Just load him up with
that. Some Alpha Brain.
He's like, this is Adderall.
Yeah.
No, it's like when you have kids. I've never had kids, but I can imagine that your body's like, hey, we have to dedicate all of it to keeping him alive.
Yeah.
Take it from his memory. Take it from his workout.
I don't know.
His discipline.
I'm assuming all homes are different, but like I just feel like it's dumbed me down. It just.
You're the father of Annalisa too.
Yeah, but you just
special kid.
Like when you're just like disciplining children and then like working on the stuff that you work on at home and developing them, your vocabulary is not necessarily, getting better,
But also with you have a lot of pursuits. Like you were talking about me having a lot of hobbies and stuff. So do you. Like you like to run, and like the whole youth pastor thing and the camp and
a podcast master moment right here.
Yeah.
Good segue.
So I mean, yeah. So like, there's a lot of things that you like to do, and those all take up RAM too. So, I mean, you take it from your vocabulary RAM. You're like, forget it. I'll just mumble my way out of here.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go run 38 miles.
Yeah, I think that's the liability. Being, what is that? An inch deep and a mile wide. And that whole. I mean, one of the things that haunts me the
Never
most
heard that before.
is do less, be more. And I find a lot of, I chuckle when I kind of see your stuff, because I'm like, man, you're like me on steroids a little bit more. Although I feel like you at least really lock into things, and like you're really good at it. I mean, I literally talk about this house all the time. You know what I mean? Like when people bring up Joe Rogan out there, I'm like, you got to meet my little brother Colton, man. Like this guy it's so ironic that he's like in an unincorporated town of 1,100 people or whatever it is. But I'm like, when you pull up to his house, man, you got like Bitcoin mining going on and hydroponics and lily pads and like, I mean,
that's just what you know about,
like
dude.
season 1 True Detective, to where there's like these little things hanging that like you don't know, man. You might not make it out. You know what I mean? Like you better have a fixed blade, good primary, secondary weaponry. Like I don't come in here. So, I got a couple knives on me for sure.
Yeah, you're safe.
And, but I do respect that deeply about you, is that you at least add depth to your pursuits and stuff like that. But as I've aged, I definitely keep more of my hobbies to a minimum. I think maybe I'll spend a little bit more time trying to improve my vocabulary.
There you go. Well, it's the old saying, jack of all trades, master of none. And that's definitely, I had this thought one time. Everybody's Wikipedia page is like the old time where, like, if he came up and he's like, we're like, who are you? And he's on this horse or whatever, and he goes, I am Casye, son of Doug, slayer of dragons, and layer of many women, and layer of rubies, and it goes on and on and on. If you read someone's Wikipedia page now, especially people that I like or look up to, it's Cary Fukunaga is a producer and a writer and a director, and he does this and that, and the first sentence is a run-on sentence, and it's like, they do all that? Yup. How good are they at 90% of that? Like, they're really good at one thing or two things, but the rest are just like, I produced a movie one time, and now I'm a producer. It's like, all right, come on. So it's a constant battle. Tucker and I had a big conversation about that, because he's the same way. Like, he makes whips, like makes bull whips. He does the falconry. He does the barbering. He does, what else does he do? He does a lot of stuff. And it's like, well, how can you become the Stephen King of making whips if you're flying falcons, and vice versa? So kind of what we came up with is, like, you need hobbies that build on each other if you want to get really good,
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you need some that just don't matter.
Becomes a repertoire. Like if you're, an outdoorsman, you know what I mean? It just, all those can kind of occur in a day out. You know what I mean? You could be building shelter, you could be fishing, you could be hunting, you could be field dressing, you could be making fire, all that kind of could happen in the course of a day. And so those are all refined, So you break them down. You break down skills like in a metaphysical genres of hobbies.
There you go. Right. But you break down skills in like in a meta way. Like, what am I really doing here? Like building a shelter. Like, well, that's architecture, right? So you could just take that, like, well, take the idea of architecture and expand on that. Like, so this is a little bit of a stretch, but like interior design could be architecture, because you're like designing a space, like a 3-dimensional space. So those could kind of cross over. Like, I build cabins and I look at my living room and I make sure it's got the feng shui going on, that whole thing. As far as breaking down skills in above a genre way, but more of a, what would you call that? Like a fundamental type of, like, what are you really doing? I'm flying falcons, but what I'm really doing is increasing my animal intelligence.
I love it, man.
Something like that. I don't know.
You're being a dude right now. You're so compartmentalizing. You're like compartmentalizing. You're like, my hobbies need
toxic masculinity.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh, dude, I still want to cuss right now. But
You can do anything you want on this podcast.
I really can't. Don't say that.
You can do whatever you want.
You don't say that to me. Okay.
Linda, listen. Don't tell me that.
No, you just don't give me that liberty. Like, it's just a bad idea.
You can look up here anytime and realize you're being filmed.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's just funny, man, because even your hobbies, you want to place them in categorical boxes. You know what I mean? And like, this is my architectural, and I love that. I mean, that's just that's definitely how I operate. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
It's nice to have some hobbies that you don't give a fuck about, though. You know, kind of like, I don't know if I even have any of these, but something that you don't care to be bad at, but it's fun to do.
Yep.
So you're kind of free to do it.
It's
like
very Buddhist.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Like, I got a really good friend named Pamu. His real name's Scott Sagbabbitt, but we call him Pamu. But he's a genius.
There's a lot of names in there.
He's a genius. He's a genius. He's gonna be on the podcast soon.
I feel like that's not the right statement at all.
This guy.
It's more than there's a lot of names in there. It's more of like the origin of names. Like how. So
You'll have to listen to this. Okay.
No, I want to know this guy real quick. Can we
Okay.
talk, you know.
Well, where did he get
So
his
can
name
you say his
from?
last name again?
Sagbabbitt. Sagbabbitt, yes. And he's a dark-skinned fellow, but he's white. Like, he's Spanish descent, but he's dark. Like, he has a dark complexion.
Right.
So I kind of he almost
He's not
looks,
in touch with that side of his life.
he looks Arab almost, you know, and he'll admit it. And he's
Yeah.
like, people guess that I'm this and that all the
Yeah.
time, but I'm straight
but
European.
they bleach the soul, right? He's just-
I don't know what.
Right.
No, like
He's
his
just
genetics
straight up-
are Caucasian.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. The phenotype is not Caucasian. But dude, this guy is a genius.
Yeah.
We were born on the exact same day.
That was
exact
weird.
same year.
Yeah,
He's
that
trying
was-
to like osmotically
in the same
he's trying to
hospital.
like osmotically
Weird
take
as
some
hell.
of his talent and his
I'm-
intelligence. You're
well,
like, no, he's great.
He's
And
trying
we
to
were
take some
born
of
on this-
mine. What are you talking
yeah,
about?
of course, right.
Anyway, go on.
You want me to tell that story?
No, I just
No,
and his
that's a good
nickname is
story.
Pamu.
Pamu. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of his writing music name.
Okay.
Performance name almost.
Performance name, like his artist name, like
Yeah.
Eminem and Marshall Mathers. Like,
Yeah.
But anyway, he's a genius at music, and he did the music for the documentary. And when I go hang out with him, he does sessions. He does a lot of hip hop. Like, a lot of hip hop people come to him, and he literally makes beats from scratch. And I said, hey, can you give me lessons on how to make music? Because I would love to make some Dead Mouse type music just for myself, just to have fun and express myself and be like. And when I hear a track of Dead Mouse or Your Sign Volpine or anything that I listen to, I can appreciate a little bit more. But I don't care to be the next Dead Mouse. Like, I don't have a ambition of like selling out shows in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's just about
Enjoyment.
and pursuing an open creativity.
That's good. You
So
gotta have that.
I think so.
You gotta have that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think it.
Pull that mic a little bit closer to you. I know you get loud, but it's okay. You won't hurt it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pull the whole thing. This can go anywhere.
Okay. So we're gonna keep things right in here.
Okay, that's fine.
All
Okay.
right. Feels safe right here.
All right.
There's nothing behind me. I got my knives, dude. All right. Don't
That's
start
what's underneath
start
you.
swinging these crazy Louisiana Nolo things in here or whatever. These
You'll
bayou freaking
You'll
bone
float too,
teepees
Nick.
or
You'll
whatever.
float too.
Yeah. I'm scared. Both the Seiferts will take me down. I don't stand a chance right now.
We brought you here for
Kamora's
a reason.
already, she keeps licking me and she's like, everything's going to be fine.
That's her role. That's
I
a way
get
better
it.
for her.
I feel like this
That's a way
is
better for her.
some bait and switch going on.
It's like that whole coyote thing where
I'm
they send the
nervous,
female
man.
coyotes,
Just
and
like-
the female coyotes flirts with the male dog.
Yeah.
and they're like,
these
"Oh, I
seats are
love you,
hot.
I love you."
My groin is hot right now. I mean,
Wow.
yeah. It's not hot.
Do you need some water?
I do. I would like some water,
We can
actually.
get you- can you grab some water?
To be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I know we're kind of a little bit on a schedule, and you'll be back to more episodes. So, you have a really fascinating backstory, like your life, your testimony is what people will call it.
Sure.
Is great.
Story.
Yeah. The story is great. But there's I also kind of pitch this idea of you're doing really good on your Instagram stories. And people are really enjoying them. And when we talked on the phone, I said, "Hey, I've been traveling with you. This whole past week, I've been with you at the water park and at the RV park and during your drive. This isn't your Kansas. This is our Kansas. All that kind of stuff. So it's cool because social media does give you an outlet to kind of
For sure.
be a part of another person's story. So." I told you on the as far as the podcast goes, like, well, you can kind of voice why you're in Arkansas, what you want to do, and kind of get that message out to people that maybe are like, well, Nick's moved to Arkansas. Why? He left California and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we should go there, and then if we have time, we can talk about your backstory to give it a little bit more potency. But like, so you left California. You're originally from there and West Virginia, right? Yeah. So, and your wife is totally from there.
Yeah. So, you go through different seasons, and different stuff comes out of your heart during those seasons. And so when when you're starting out and having a young family and those things, that obviously you want to be about other young families, and really a lot of it too just becomes because you're trying to mitigate the isolation that comes with having children, and so, we started having kids, and, it's like, you really can only hang out with other families that are in kind of your same lane. You know what I mean? Like if I was to bring my family over with you guys, at some point, you know what I mean? The kids, it's not going to last as long as it would if you were married and you had a couple kids and the age depends on that too. So, during that season of time, we wanted to start hanging out with more families, and doing just building more community that way. You know what I mean? Just out of, one of the things that comes out of me that is just, it's, and I want to just segue just a tiny bit, but I just feel like it's really important to discover how you can thrive. You know what I mean? I'll pivot for a second. And, there's a movie I watched the other day. It turns out, that Charles Howard was the owner of Seabiscuit. Have you heard of Seabiscuit, this horse?
I have.
During the Great Depression, that he was kind of he was a runt. He was bred to, he came from, a very prestigious mom or dad or, and all that too, but he ended up being too small, and they cast him aside and they used him to train other big racehorses. And just kind of, he was cast aside as never to be anything. And he developed kind of this chip on his shoulder. And, the horse did. And someone, Charles Howard, turns out he's my great uncle. My mom's name is Lisa Howard.
That's right.
And
whoa.
But what's really cool about this story is, and how it I've watched it a couple times, but the last time I watched it, it really helped me. And so they start racing Seabiscuit, and they're trying to get the right jockey. And I don't know and I might butcher it a little tiny bit, but anyhow, they find this jockey that was basically not abandoned by his parents, but they couldn't afford to take care of him during the Great Depression. And he could ride horses. So they went to some, just riding around in a circle race at some small town, and there was a guy that was had these kids racing his ponies, and they were making money, and Red got on a horse, or and saw it. So they just gave their son to this guy, and that was the last he ever saw of his parents.
Howard?
No, to this, yeah. So those are separate stories. To this guy that raced horses.
Okay.
So that kind of develops as a part of the story, and then the Seabiscuit thing kind of comes up. Well, they meet, and Red is the jockey, and Seabiscuit's the horse, but they basically find each other in it. And in the very end of the movie, it talks about that. What did they say? They said that Charles, because basically he wins and wins and wins and wins and wins, and it's so cool because it really, the American people got around this idea of the man that had been cast aside and fired, and that was it, man. Your life was over. You were done. And it was just comeback story, you know what I mean? And this little guy. And so they find each other, but Red, being abandoned by his parents, has this chip on his shoulder. He can never quite make it as a jockey. He's fighting all the other jockeys, and he's just angry and mad, and he has this inside of him. But at the end of the story, I think Red says that, a lot of people think that we found this great racehorse, you know what I mean? And won all this money and won all these prizes with it. But really what happened is he found us. you know, and he found the American people, and the American people, you know, we love a story, and they got onto that story, and he helped pull people out of kind of the societal depression that came out of that. So what I got from that is that Red, the jockey, I'm gonna come back, I'm getting back to this, I'm circling, is that they had to discover how to get him to perform at the best that he could. And what they did is you couldn't come out of the gate fast with him. He couldn't be winning the whole time. You had to stick a horse in front of him. And he had to have a challenge in front of him. He had to have, oh, you think you can beat me? And it was like a switch, and he was gone.
That's cool.
But you had to learn. And so for me, you know, part of every day of my life is trying to just kind of discover, and a lot of it is just because I just got a lot of really, really dark habits and bad things I'm trying to overcome. But I'm trying to figure out how to jockey myself the best way to where I can perform at my best and be my best me.
Right.
And so part of that was being around other people that are in the same lane. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm a little cuckoo, and so I got to be around people, man. I can't be Henry Thoreau, just like Thoreau couldn't be Thoreau. He went out to the cabin, but he ended up coming back, right?
Funny he mentions that.
You know what I mean? And just you gotta I gotta check in. My thoughts gotta check in with you. They gotta bounce off you and be like, yo, Nick, you know, come back, bro.
Dude,
you know what I mean? Or
true
you know,
is
you're
that?
spending too much money on tattoos, man. Your kids don't even have diapers. You know what I mean? Like, hey, great tats, but
Right.
your kids got poop in their pants. You know what I mean? Like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I need that accountability, you know.
Yeah.
And so as we were going through this season of life, you see how I brought that back? Yes,
Mhm.
I'm getting
Very
better,
pastor-y,
getting better,
like, you
getting
know.
better at that. And these rabbit holes, I just don't bury myself at the end of them. I can actually find my way out of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
True skill.
we wanted to be around other families. I wanted to be known. I need you to know me, man. I need you to know what I'm struggling with. I need you. I need to interact with people, you know what I mean? And I need to listen to people because I get really excited about people. I mean, I think that's just what comes out of me naturally is I love just hearing what you're into. I just love it.
I was like, you love it so much. Do you remember this? I know, of course you remember, but for the listeners, there was a time where you taped your mouth shut and put a sign on your shirt or on your chest that said,
yeah.
I'll give you $1 to tell me your
Tell me
story.
your story. I went down to the Orange Circle.
Yeah.
And because I believe that people would find goodness in their story if they just would tell it. And I didn't need to talk. I just needed to give them a platform to speak it. And that I really felt like if they could speak their story, that it would hit me and it would ricochet back to them with goodness and light.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And just that they would... there's so much goodness in your story, but we don't drive around telling ourselves our story. You know, you're like, I'm late for work, or, you know, I haven't pooped this morning, or I ate like crap last night. My workout's going to suck. Gosh, why do I keep doing that? You know what I mean? I'm so inconsistent. And, you know, I wonder what podcast I should listen to. What kind of music am I feeling? You know what I mean? I got a rock in my shoe. Damn it. You know, like my car's not washed. You know what I mean? I haven't made Kelsey feel important in a while. You know, you just, that's your life. You know what I mean? And so... yeah. So, we bought this property.
Oh, you have some?
No, we bought that property in
Oh,
Wildemar.
yeah, in Cali-
you
in
actually
Cali.
were there
Yeah.
day one. You know, I mean, I
It's a
remember
nice little
I
piece of
remember the
property.
post that you put.
New
Old
home.
friends, new places.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good.
Got the
And
pine trees. Yeah.
yeah, it was really good. And then that property was kind of this idea. It was 6 acres. It was in the canyon. It was in, you know, kind of the Temecula Valley, Southern California area.
Dirt track.
It was.
Dirt
it
bike
was
track.
frick-
Could see
what's
the lake
funny
from the
is I almost
house.
lost my marriage because I was outside all day long. And finally, like after about like 30 to 45 days, it was like I just came in and Sandra was like, if you think that you're going to be outside all day long and right. And what am I? What do I just make tortillas and change diapers? Like, is that what you got me here for?
Oh.
And I'm like, well, yeah. You see that tractor?
Yeah.
Don't you see the dirt that I'm moving? The retaining walls that I'm making? You know what I mean? Though, like, you know what I mean?
Justifying.
Like, No, I mean, it's silly. I
Your
say that. I
position.
didn't really say
I
that to
know.
her, but you know what I mean? It's just, man, you give Nick 6 acres up in the canyon and a tractor and some diesel fuel. Oh, bro, you won't see me for weeks.
Right.
I'll be,
It's funny.
clandestine.
It's funny. It's
chicken coops and you know what I mean?
It's the same logic as, dude, you have awesome tattoos, but your kids have poop in their diapers.
Right.
It's the same logic, except expanded
sure.
to a 6
Squirrel,
acres.
You
And
know what I mean? It's just like, yeah.
like, whoa, wait a
come
minute,
on,
you got
we
kids and a family.
Yeah. You can't be like that no more. So that property was super cool. It was super fun. But what we said was like, how can we share it in a way with people that are in our same season to where, man, we can all kind of just benefit from this, you know what I mean? And come out here and play, do community. And so that's the whole idea of gathering families together to be around each other, to know each other, just to create community and all the great things that people that come out of community. You have your own community, all the great things that come out of that, like fitness, health, new whiskeys to drink, new cigars to smoke, new podcasts to listen to. You know what I mean? Just like we're just bolstering and sharpening each other, you know? And so this monologue, am I going monologue on this? Sorry.
No, that's what
Long
this whole
answer.
thing's about.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that also kind of morphed into doing a wedding there. And that was Sandra's little sister was out shopping venues in the area, coming back and like, hey, the minimum's $20,000. And I was like, well, I got me a cleared spot down there, you know what I mean? And like, let's do it. And so then that turned into, we rented a tractor and a couple dumpsters and cleared a spot. And then our neighbor donated like 30 yards of mulch, you know what I mean? Or even more. I mean, just tractor loads of mulch. And then all of a sudden there was an old pony barn or pony covering. I was like, hey, Alex, let's repurpose that wood and let's make an alt or whatever you'd call it, like a...
I missed that guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So then this idea of the property became this multi-purpose, right? It was a wedding venue, and
Right.
of course, you know, we chomped on that carrot for a second.
Did you?
Everybody's trying to do weddings in Southern California. Yeah, man, it's like, what's the old, you know, there's a couple things you invest in, right? Water and cemeteries, because everybody needs to drink, everybody's got to die. You know what I mean? It's like weddings are, you know what I mean? Like everybody,
Not going away.
they're not going away, man. So great revenue stream. So we, you know, but we didn't feel like this was a capitalistic kind of whole, that it wasn't wholly that, you know, we really wanted community. And if anything, we just thought, you know, we'll just offer some donation only wedding venue site just to hook people up, you know? And so, you know, of course, that started to gain traction. We started to try and look at that from like a market perspective, and I got no business sense at all. So I just tried to have some business sense, you know what I mean? And I looked at so camp is the, you know, an idea of a multi-purpose kind of facility. A lot of those are called camps, retreats, conference centers.
Right.
And so I took 100-mile radius and just started comparing our little 6-acre property, and it was like 1,500 acres over here, 200 acres over here, and they've got like their own 50,000 gallon water tank. And I mean, just like, you know, and I'm like,
How can you compete?
yeah, and I'm like, well, I got bacteria in my 5,000 gallons I can't afford to get rid of, just,
Right.
you know what I mean? But we'll shuttle in drinking water, you know what I mean? Just
Right.
like total redneck
Trying to
cat,
figure
you
it
know,
out,
just,
yeah.
you know, and so, of course, you know, we're people of faith, you know, and so, you know, we prayed a pretty serious prayer, and that was, you know, God, I really need you to throw me a bone here, because I feel like this is definitely something that we want to get behind and do. So, you know, one of the scriptures I love is that in a man's heart he plans his way, but God establishes his path. And I love that because I see that bore out in my life, and I see that stuff's coming out of my heart, and I just, right, I'm doing that, and I really rely on him to kind of make those fine tweaks and really place my foot in the right spot, because there's a million spots to place a foot in on that path, you know. And so I prayed that prayer. I was like, hey, this is coming out of my heart, God, and I really need you to establish my path, but I need you, because I'm a little dumb and I'm a doubter. Man, am I a doubter. And it is so hard for me to wrap my head around this idea of following somebody I can't see.
Yeah.
It is, and we could segue even more, but I really doubt so much of what we were raised on. You know what I mean? And
I think that's healthy, though. It has to be healthy.
Yeah, because there's so many good segues in there, like where science leaves off in this whole kind of integration of science and faith, and
right.
so much good stuff. And,
Right.
all that. But so I needed to know, and I needed it to be like stamped on my life if I was going to make this huge change, because this was my dream property. Dirt bike track, tractor. I was riding every day, breaking arms every other week. You know what I mean?
I remember that, yeah.
All my kids at 6 months old, the little like kangaroo pouch that you get. I don't even know what those things are called. You know what I mean? Like, they just end up in your living room. People give them to you, and all of a sudden you're a marsupial.
Right.
And like,
Right.
This sucks.
Excuse me.
You know what I mean? But what do? I wear it and ride my kids on a dirt bike.
Keep my beer in there.
They got a helmet on, I promise. Don't call CPS. This is good living here.
If I fall.
I'll cut my tattoos back. I'll buy on diapers, I promise.
After a couple laps at the dirt bike track.
All my kids, like from 6 months on, man, were like, because I wanted them to get that idea of being on something that was loud and vibrating, and then this idea, because I'm a carver. That's what I really, really love. If you're like, Nick, why do you snowboard? Why do you surf? Why do you ride dirt bikes? And if you like videoed me, I just like to carve things. You know what I mean?
Like that G-force? Like you like
just
that?
Like carving things. Like even like the culverts. Like every culvert I see, I just want to jump it and then like carve in and out of. Like all these ditches are like waves to me, but they have, they're not.
It's the surfer inside.
Remember the cardboard behind the Dodge Neon that I had? Did you ever see that picture? Remember that big old giant cardboard I got when I was out here and we put the ski rope? Remember my little Dodge Neon? No. My creeper college car. Remember that white two-door Dodge Neon? I had a lot of college cars, but I'd get whoever to just drive my car and put a ski rope behind it, and I had that cardboard, and I just carved behind it. Yeah, anyhow. So
a little bit. It's like Jimmy Adams, and you guys would do that.
What are you saying? You weren't a part of that?
I don't think I was.
Well, we wanted you to be.
I don't remember. I'm not much. I mean, I'm accepted into that group, but we just don't vibe. Like it's just kind of
secretary moment right here. It's fine. Yeah. So I asked God to show me with the number 37. I was like, I need to know what you want us to do with this, and that's where after a couple weeks, you asked me to tell a story.
Yeah.
You asked me. Okay.
No, I mean.
All right. So
no justification.
A couple
needed.
weeks went by. And I can shorten it because I've told it, quite a bit. But what I said was
forever. It lives forever on the podcast, so you don't have to shorten it. You can make it as long as you want, and you'll never have to tell it again. Like go listen to episode number 47.
37. Can we somehow make it?
I think 37.
137, 237, and then you could fill in all the rest.
We'll wait until you're at 137.
We have a lot of room to make up. I think we're on the 40s.
We're recording all night. It's a 48-hour sesh.
We
so
recorded
we're taking
for 37
donations live
hours
right now if you want to bring it in, because we need donations for coffee and cocaine. Because we're going to be podcasting.
We only accept Bitcoin. Right. Send it our way.
Right. Can you? Yeah. Okay. So I really needed that to be clear because this was a huge, are we going to get into the camp world or the conference center world? Like the last 20 years of my life professionally has been firefighter, paramedic, nurse. That's all I know. You know what I mean? Like I was a youth pastor for 10 years. And so I love chilling with people, loving on people, hearing what they're about, all that stuff. So a couple weeks went by and we were having dinner. And Wes was in town. It was a really cool dinner night, and of course we were talking about things. And as the night progressed, all of a sudden Sandra and the girls are over on the couch, and they're like, all of a sudden they're going to get a tattoo, like it's on. And I become privy to this, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm like, well, number one, I know Sandra's like has a lot of fear in general. But then specifically with things like roller coasters, tattoos, driving fast, like there are specific things that I know are like severe triggers for her and like pain, you know what I mean? Like that I was just like, And I was just like, no, this ain't, no, you ain't going on a whim tonight to get a tattoo. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so I'm like, I need to be a part of this. So I kind of cruise over and, you know, I'm like, you know, kind of probing a little bit. And I'm like, so you're really thinking about going to get a tattoo? And she's like, yeah, we're going right now. And like, someone's on their phone making an appointment. I'm like, well, what would you get? You know what I mean? She's like, oh, I'd get the number 37. And then I was like, oh, I'm down with that. Small. Great first tattoo. Love the idea. You know, we just prayed that a couple weeks ago. And that number, just a little background on that number. Obviously, 3 is a number of the Trinity. 7 is a number of completion, historically speaking, biblically speaking, right? So I've always loved those 2 numbers, you know, and stuff like that. And so it's always been a special number for me. So it's become a special number for Sandra. So I'm like, well, where would you get it? She wanted to get it like on her scapula. I was like, no, we're not that redneck. You know, no scapula guitar. Can you edit that out? Everyone watching this that has like that, every girl that has like that off to the right scapula tat.
They need to hear that. They honestly need to hear that.
A little dose of reality.
Yeah, those girls need to.
It's just tattoo etiquette. You know what I mean? And it's
small. Water in
such
Chinese.
A small butterfly too. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have this giant body, and then you went for a.
I just want a butterfly.
You went for a 1.5 inch fairy.
That's my grandmother.
Like who is that? You know what I mean?
It's
like
pinky toe.
It's a blue morpho.
Yeah. All right, we're getting there. So Sandra goes to get that tattoo. I don't like her first spot. I'm like, I really no scapula tats. You know what I mean? And then she's like, well, what do you think about right here? Like on my, you know, and then even so, like she said, like right here on this spot. And I was like, oh, like when you're standing, you know, as you look back like that, I was like, that's dope. I'm down with that. Let's good. Let's go. So we go and get it. The kids stay and sleep where we're at the Ott's house. We were going to stay the night. No big deal. We come back from the tattoo and we're like, let's just head home. So we wake the kids up. We're like, let's just go home tonight. You know what I mean? Maybe just let's go home. We got stuff planned tomorrow. So as we're heading home, the kids are asleep, and all of a sudden we turn on to the 15 South, and we're just talking about how cool the tattoo was and different things that kind of surrounded that whole thing. And then all of a sudden, Santa just pivots, changes the subject, and she's like, you think we should sell the property? And of course I'm driving, you know, as you look back and forth with somebody, and so I'm looking at her as she asks that question, and then I come back to the road, glance down, you know, you occasionally glance down to the instruments, and the fuel gauge, like Steven Spielberg editing. You think we should sell the property? And the fuel gauge says 37 miles. And all of a sudden it's like whoom, 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 whoom. And it was 4 days of absolute whoom, 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 whoom. I was inside of the Truman Show of 37s. Oof. It was, you believe what you want to believe. Whoever it was that we prayed that prayer to, whatever you believe, answered and smacked the dog mess out of us for 4 days with 37s. So, of course, I'm the doubter. I'm like, I don't say a word to her. I'm like, whoa. Number one, I'm like, okay, there goes the dirt bike track. There goes the marsupial suit with my kids on front of the dirt bikes, like we're selling my dream home.
Oh, damn it.
No, seriously, because I was like, man, even though I knew it was such small scale, we're on 6 acres, how could we ever make this a conference center? You know, a part of me was like, well, you know, maybe we'll just have a zip line, you know, or with, you know.
Sounds like
right?
Branson or something.
Yeah, the ducks or something, you know, or whatever.
We got fudge and a zip line.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
Avocado fudge and zip lines. And so I don't say a word to her, and I'm like, of course, I'm just like, yeah, is that a coincidence? You know, and, you know, the editing, the timing, only I will know the time, you know, how much the timing, the perfect editing was post-production wise, you know what I mean? Like no one else will know that, you know? But I'm like, I kind of need another one before we hit home to know, you know, and so
typical.
And so, yeah. And so I'm driving.
Typical human. Like, it's like, what is that show with Jim Carrey, Bruce Almighty? He's like, God, give me a sign.
And more
giant
wood,
truck.
More wood just keeps showing up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
He's like, no.
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah. And then hair just starts growing and growing and growing on him. Yeah. He's putting on that suit because he feels so guilty. He like puts on the Noah outfit, and then he tries to put his suit on over it. And he's
Evan Almighty.
That's Evan Almighty.
Yeah, I'm talking about the first
We just
one.
sorry, yeah, we just watched
where
it.
he's driving the car.
Yeah.
And it's like, stop,
My
you're
bad.
about to go off the road.
Yeah,
But same concept.
Yeah,
same
people.
concept.
Yeah, they knew where we both were coming from. So
Yeah.
So I'm looking for things on the way home, and nothing's really impressionable at all. Nothing very convincing at all. There's like a 2732, and I'm like, oh, there's a 73 in the middle of two twos, and I'm just like, nah, that's BS. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't gonna cut it.
Like
You know, I'm not moving
now.
my whole family for 2732. You know, like, okay, let's go, kids. Like my dad's, we're doomed. We're following a freaking goon here. You know what I mean? Like, no wonder why you got so many tattoos and we got poop in our pants.
We can control daddy. Just tell him 37. You're like, I saw a 37 in my burrito. what does it mean?
McDonald's had a 37 in the window.
Oh, we're going to open a McDonald's. We're going to have a chain of
No, we
McDonald's.
just want McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what's funny, I really feel like it was kind of the ace up God's sleeve, you know, but you know, we had created like this, there was this huge 12 by 12 when we bought the property that just like was in the ground right when you would walk, you'd turn into the property. It was just this unfinished post. I don't know what the guy I think he ran out of money or 12 by 12s, you know, kind of hard to come by. It's big timber, you know. And so I wanted to do something with that, and I wanted, you know, I kind of had this idea of like, you know, like those signposts that have like, you know, Tucumcari this way, Phoenix this way. And it was, you know, like cartoons had them. People have done tons of spinoffs on them, you know. But I wanted to put words up there that really like proclamations of what we were about, like growth and these kind of things. And so, and then I had put 37 because that was such an important number, you know, for me. And I've always felt like God has talked to me through that number and just kind of given me little winks like, hey, I'm here. I'm real. You know what I mean? And just use that kind of number in ways that were kind of undeniable, you know? And so I put that number on there. So I didn't see a single 37 on the way home as I was driving. And then right when I turned onto the dirt road, I was like, you dumbass. You got a 37 on your 12 by 12. Why would you even ask that question?
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It was like, you know, I feel like I was like, I really don't need to show you another one because you got one on your front door. You know what I mean? Like, you moron.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of, there was a big moron and a little moron sitting on a bridge. The big moron fell off. You don't know why? You want to know why the other one didn't?
How come?
Because he was a little moron.
I feel moronic for not getting this joke.
He was a little more on the bridge.
I got you. Yep.
That's my mom.
Thank you.
Come on, let's just shout out to moms real quick. Give me a mom joke.
A mom joke?
Yeah, it's for my mom. She used to tell me that joke all the time. Like, how do you hide an elephant in the fridge?
How?
Wait, that wasn't the joke. She would say...
I like that punchline better,
though.
though.
No. She would say, how do you know an elephant's been in your fridge? There's footprints in the butter. Loved it. Loved it my whole life. It was like so soothing to me.
Really?
Yeah. I was just like, I love you and your waffles and your jokes.
Tell me more.
And, you know?
I don't think Leslie
If I was a
Seifert's ever
babe-
told us a joke.
No jokes.
It's like,
She just baked you guys
what
stuff
do you,
forever.
yeah.
Just
Yeah,
upon
just
sheets and sheets, Pyrex dishes full of just Leslie Seifert love.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Yeah. So the 37 was on that sign. You know, when we get back home, the very next day, I start doing a ton of research, tons of 37s. I think it was a Sunday. I go to work on Monday. You know, I work in an ICU. I'm a nurse. There's tons of different kinds of patients we take care of. This patient is on something called CRRT, which stands for continuous renal replacement therapy. So that means that you've ever heard of sepsis. So sepsis,
It's like cleaning the blood. Or
or septicemia. So sepsis is when basically, you know, an infection just spreads throughout your whole bloodstream and your whole body, and then it disallows your body to regulate blood pressure. So all your vasculature just becomes super dilated, and you cannot maintain your blood pressure no matter what. If we just pour down, and it's because the bacteria has deadened all those receptors' ability to shrink things. Then when they sense pressure issues, you know what I mean? Here I am talking to the Seifert boys about sepsis when their dad's a freaking doctor.
No, it's fascinating.
Yeah. So I'm taking care of this severe septic patient that, so there's different degrees of sepsis, and when sepsis gets really bad, it starts affect you go into heart failure, kidney failure, liver failure, lung failure, and that's when, and then you support those organs. So this patient was severe septic shock with, multiple organ involvement that was on this dialysis machine that nurses run. And we run this dialysis machine that you run it over 24 hours. So we're gently cleaning the blood and gently removing fluid, as opposed to you going to dialysis for 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. So we're accomplishing the same thing over 24 hours as opposed to 4 hours. So it's more gentle. So it doesn't, because when you do dialysis, you drop the blood pressure. So if you did a 4-hour dialysis or an 8-hour dialysis or even a 12-hour dialysis on a patient that was severely septic, you kill them.
Right.
So we're doing this there's only certain nurses that can run this dialysis machine. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I just happen to be trained on that machine.
Whoa.
Let me tell you. Hot damn. My groin's hot.
Who can run that machine? Not you, but I can.
Yep. Hot groin. Anyhow,
you can run a dialysis machine.
Yeah, this is this whole idea of a podcast is amazing. Yeah,
love it.
It's like this moment where like you guys actually really you make me feel like I'm great. Like you're just listening with intent.
Well, it's probably because you're paying attention, because we always do this.
Yeah,
for you. And like,
thank you,
Mickey
thank you
does
that you're paying.
it.
Thank you that
Fry.
for listening.
You turn into a sponge and you just
right.
So we just want to take this moment to just thank our sponsors right now for. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the Fleshlight.
Yeah,
that's classic.
I was gonna say Sonic, maybe.
Well, Fleshlight's classic Joe Rogan. Like that's
Yeah.
how you know a true Joe Rogan fan.
Yeah.
Like, have you been listening since the Fleshlight sponsor?
Oh
no,
I've only. I regret to admit.
No, it's fine.
It's
that's
just
how I gauge it.
He
It's
is
like,
such an investment, man.
Oh,
I had no idea. Just like they're all 2 hours or
probably
3.
Yeah, it usually goes for 3.
And then multiple a week uploaded.
Right.
Okay.
3 or 4 a week.
So here you go. I want to bring this home. You ready? So we're taking that patient, and with that kind of patient, you got to have 2 nurses, right? So normally one ICU nurse is taking care of 2 patients. This is 2 nurses on 1 patient. One's running the machine, one's taking care of the patient, all the antibiotics, making sure all the drips don't run out that are supporting blood pressure, heart rate, all those things, right? So I come in, and this nurse had just been trained on that machine, so they wanted someone to take care of the patient who also knew the machine while they were first running the machine, just in case they had questions. So I was taking care of the patient. The other nurse was running the machine. And it's, you come in, you get report, and there's just tons of equipment in the room, and there's a lot to know about. There's a lot to figure out. There's a lot to keep running. It's very easy to not pay any attention to the family, And we start shift at 7. Okay. And so at 8:37 in the morning, I don't look up. This is not how this starts. I don't look up and see the clock, but I come back to the clock after what happens. So an hour and 37 minutes into the shift, minus a couple minutes, I look over finally, and I had been glancing over, but I've already done my assessment. I've kind of got things leveled out, and we're good. I look over and I see who I think is a husband and a son. And I say, "Sir, I am so sorry. My name is Nick, and this is so-and-so, and we're going to be taking care of your family member today. How do you know her? How are you related to her?" And he's like, "This is my wife." And because I've assumed that people were who they were, and they were wrong. Like, is this your mom, or is this your sit? And they're like, "Well, no, this is my wife," and I called her your mom.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, you probably should have, married someone else. No, I'm just kidding. That's why you're in this bed, because you've had a horrible marriage, because you married an old gatch,
That was your mom.
Right. Turns out 23 and me do,
It says you're my mom.
So I say, so how long you guys been married? What is the answer with?
37 years.
37 years, right? And as he says that, I glance over, just as I did to check the car in the instrument panel and the lane that I was driving in when Sandra said that. I glance over to check her vital signs, and he says 37 years, and the time on the monitor is 8:37. Right? Couple minutes later, Sandra sends me a text. She goes, "Hey, I just paid a utility bill. Guess how much it was? $37.37.
Oh.
It literally was 4 days. We went to go the day before on Sunday. Went to go do soccer pictures with the kids. And, Sandra, you're like trying to herd cats when you're with your kids, period, So I take the two other ones. While Sandra takes this one over to get. So I just bring them over to this jungle gym, and they're doing this work on this bathroom, and they've got it tarped off for the weekend because they don't want, people coming into their work zone. And they've got the address to the whole park written in spray paint on the tarp because apparently maybe they were working where the address used to be written, just in case there was an emergency there. They wanted EMS workers or whatever to be able to find, well, what's the address? 3737 on the tarp. You know what I mean? It's dude, it's Bruce Almighty. It's Seven Almighty. So for 4 days.
Yeah.
So, once again, I prayed that prayer and God answered, and I prayed very direct. He let us know by using the number 37. He was like, okay, And so then it became location, and then that's a whole other story. And so the evolution of this whole thing has been, we want to open up, a camp and a conference center for families. And in this idea, and then, that kind of morphed into, is there something like that? Well, turns out people have been doing family camps for a long time. Then we met, some people that have been doing family camp for 80 years, Forest Home.
Wow.
And they said, hey, come up for the summer. Come on staff and volunteer. We'll teach you everything we know about family camp, which is why we moved into the RV so that we could go around and be mobile, still go to work, still maintain our life with our kids, but learn how in the heck do we do this whole family camp thing, this whole idea of a conference center for families. And so, of course, the location is tied into that. I mean, we could have picked any location, Boulder, Colorado, anywhere, Oregon, any of that. But we felt deeply connected back here, and we felt like God was calling us back here. But Pacific?
Specifically.
No, specifically. Pacific is where we came from. Atlantic.
No, you're in the Midwest. You can say Pacific.
Oh, okay. So
Pacifically.
Yeah.
I want an espresso.
Yeah. How do we tie in the Grand River to that as a water body? We don't tie that in. Yeah. Ufala, Lake Ufala. So
long live Mufasa.
Yeah. So we're here. There's a lot of details in there, as you could tell. I'm very detail oriented. There's a lot of details because I needed to know, because I did just cut. Taking this step of faith and this leap was a reduction in income. And I'm going to tell you, if there's anything I don't trust God with, it's money. And I hate to say that. And you find that out real quick, how much you trust things when you really start kind of stepping out into the dark. And that's what I discovered is like, wow, yeah. So, yeah, coming back here is a huge leap of faith. It's definitely a dream that's bigger than I could dream up, which I love. It's bigger than I can pull off, which I love. I love that idea. And I love being a part of that. I've always wanted, we all do. We all want to be a part of something badass, you know what I mean? And a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. That's why we, anyhow.
No, it's true.
Yeah. So we're here. We're here to open up a family camp. I don't know what that looks like. I'm assuming that we'll start to network. You need money. You need people with money. You need people that can build things, that can donate things, all that stuff. So it'll be somewhere in that Northwest Arkansas area. It might be up in Missouri. Let's just say it'll be in the Ozarks. It'll be a family camp, and then as a subspecialty, I'm bringing this to an end. To subspecialize, of course, it's to be straight up 9 weeks of family camp in the summer, but I'd really like to subspecialize in, and this is important for me, because this is the heart within my hearts for this thing, is that I really want to do camps for first responders, nurses, law enforcement, and veterans, military families. I feel like, and I really feel like I want to do like PTSD camps. And I want to really focus on that. Those things are donor funded. like 75% donor funded for those families, where you come out and we do mental hygiene and we work on PTSD, and we do that. I mean, it's so lofty to say, oh, well, we want to do these PTSD weekends or these PTSD camps. We want a real, because treating PTSD is gnarly. If anyone knows, and Casye, I'm sure Colton has shared a lot of this stuff, but Israel is doing a lot of stuff.
MDMA.
All that. I mean, psychedelic. I mean, treating PTSD is so huge right now, and I don't know where I fall on all that stuff. I'm just starting out on this.
You got to have float tanks at your camp.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about it. Yeah.
Got to have float tanks.
Yeah. But
to have MDMA,
I wanted to be a multifactorial approach. I mean, there's guys up in Montana.
You want to go?
They're at, yeah.
He's got PTSD from Pittsburgh State
University. Dude, I feel like PTSD.
Cannabis.
I mean, just to kind of segue a tiny bit, but I mean, like Will Smith's concussion movie. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's not a concussion. Get back in there. Your brain Swiss cheese. What do you mean?"
Mm-hmm.
And then people are off killing themselves underneath a bridge because they're going crazy because they're misdiagnosed or undiagnosed at all. I feel like PTSD, whole generation. I feel like PTSD is going to be that next concussion. And May is Mental Health Month and stuff like that. And so, we can't. It's funny because I'm also going into mental health. This is a big pivot for me professionally, is that I took a job. I'm not in critical care anymore. I want to work with veterans. I'm going into their full lockdown psych unit. And then I start most likely psych nurse practitioner school in January I want to become a mental health practitioner, and so, I want a really comprehensive, multifactorial approach at helping with PTSD. You talk to any cop that's retired from any department where they've seen some stuff, and you ask if their department is checked in on their brains and their psyches and their hearts and their souls and how if they're doing okay or not. They're like, nope. You get a 1-800 number during the academy, and you're just a pussy if you call it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Totally. There's a lot of, of what would you call that kind of macho, machismo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, machismo.
Mm-hmm. And see, the all the examples that you're giving are like the tip of the iceberg. Like the clearest day, like, oh yeah, you were shot at from ISIS was shooting at you and you have PTSD. Like, of course you do. But then there are just everyday people that have PTSD, which
maybe it's not marriage or from
maybe it's not
a coach or
maybe it's not diagnosable, but it's still like a mild version of it for a car wreck or, like you said, like an emotional trauma. Our culture is not very good at dealing with trauma. Yeah, like we ingest a lot of it, but we don't take care of it, and we just carry it around. And then psychology. Then it comes out in a different way, and usually a negative way. Yeah. Like, why are you hoarding everything? Yeah. Because you have this you have this trauma that you've never dealt with.
Yeah, and I'm jumping in like it's like trying to go to the moon. I feel like the brain and psychology and counseling and mental health and this whole, I feel like it's like equivalent to the moon. Yeah, we've been there. We stuck a flag in it. We got some samples. Yeah, right. We know kind of what it's in, its atmosphere is like. We don't have a clue. You know what I mean?
It's almost the one most far away.
Yeah. No, I'm listening to you. Keep going, Case.
Yeah, that's about all I got to say. Jeez, I'm using up my words for this podcast.
I was excited to hear.
What do you mean?
What do you mean by that?
Well, just that the brain is one of the hardest things. Like, you can know how the bones work and the skin tissue works or whatever, and the brain as an organ is it's like the toughest one to crack.
Yeah. It's because it's funny because it's like the one that you use to learn about the bones and the organs, but then it's like you have to like meta look at the brain,
right?
And that's the whole Schrodinger's problem. Like, is the cat dead or alive? Like, well, we got to look at it, So it's like to look at the brain. Well, we have to observe the brain, but by observing the brain, it changes the observation of it and everything. So you get down that loop.
We're limited at best.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
And a lot of psychology is even like theories,
Totally.
Things that's like, you can try this. If that doesn't work, keep moving down the line. And what works for somebody doesn't work for other people, even though maybe like a certain blood type, you give them this and it works every time, versus there's no real way to see if this will work on somebody psychologically, heal psychological wounds.
Yeah. Well, of all the organs, the brain is the one that has a foot in the spiritual world. You know, you're faith based or whatever, and we're psychedelic based, and there's something there,
Yeah.
He just
right? There's
Whoa.
something there, right? Empirical science wouldn't
Seifert's
say that.
got a label on him now. Yeah.
But
Ladies, did you stitch that label on, or is it kind of adhesive?
that's it. No,
It's
right here.
stitched. Right.
No, but there's something there. Empirical science would deny that, but I mean,
It's all good.
something's
man.
there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's also it's got a foot in the physical world too. Like your neurons aren't firing, or that you have too much of this neurotransmitter or something. So I think that's what also makes it more complicated, because you could prescribe a antidepressant and it might work, but then there also could be this.
Or their phosphorus could be low. You know, if you look at like
Right.
homeopath, I was just talking to someone the other day that was talking about they've had like 40 years of anxiety, and they went to some homeopathist. You know, I don't know how you say that.
Yeah. Whatever. I know what you're talking about.
And PhD, you know, physician practicing. You know, I don't, you know, what the actual, you know, credentials are and all that stuff. But
Grandmaster.
and this guy like went through a series of questions that were really odd but really good. Like, what side of the bed does she sleep on, and these things. So he had her take phosphorus after the whole thing. She hasn't had an anxiety attack in months. What?
Yeah.
It's a mineral.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
So there's those sorts of solutions, and then you think about
But
Charles Kraft. Is it Charles Kraft?
Yeah.
You ever heard those
course,
stories
of
about the sins of the fathers past?
Sure, generational curses going back to the womb, the stuff that happened in the womb.
Exactly. I'm talking about generational curses.
Sure.
Things that you had nothing to do with.
Dude, I've had that stuff.
Exactly.
I've had that stuff. I've
That-
gone to
that's
see
what you're
those
dealing
guys
with, dude.
where, yeah. I mean, if you think about my lineage, dude, we're German. You know what I mean? Like hardcore German. And so, what kind of stuff did we come out of? But you know, it's interesting. Just as one last thing, you know, I think about the last 10 years that I've been in the neuro ICU, in these brain injuries after brain injuries after brain injuries, whatever they are, whether it's a tumor that was growing and we took out and the brain's recovering, or they actually had, you know, a trauma or a stroke or whatever, you know, the brain's been injured. And, you know, in these neurosurgeons, you know, they're all different shapes and sizes, but they're freaking smart. You know what I mean? And the tenacity of them, you know, just to be able to I'm going to spend the next 32 years in a library. You know what I mean? Like that, the resilience of that, you know?
Yeah.
But what I'll see is that, you know, we go days on end, and I'm telling you, some of the most brilliant neurosurgeons will come in, and the most intelligent, best answer they can give to the family is, we just need more time.
Jeez.
And these people are hanging on, and they need like the best, most science-based, medically based. They are holding on. They're taking notes on the progress. And well, today, you know, they moved this hand, or you know, or all these things. And so, and it just seems so ironic, and the contrast is almost unbearable. And it's like these are brain surgeons. You know what I mean? And the best, the most intelligent answer they can come up with sometimes is, we just need more time, which means we've gathered samples. We don't have a clue. There's no, you know, on some things like pneumonia. Yep, you come in, we give you this, you know, and it's, you know, a 7-day treatment. Man, brain injuries are, yeah, a lot of them will say, we'll know in 6 months. We don't know how well they'll improve, but we'll know in 6 months.
Wow.
How much more vague could you be?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, so anyhow, talking about the brain, but
And that's the area that you're in, though, is absolutely not knowing, and then maybe knowing a little bit. Like he was saying, it's a lot of theories. You know,
yeah, and then
penis envy and these theories
phallus,
that worked
sure,
for a while.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it made sense, and then later on we're
Sure.
like, not really.
But
And
a lot of it's still around because it still holds some weight.
Right,
Like Freudian
yeah.
shit is pretty out there, yet
Oh,
it's still taught.
sure.
Yeah.
It's still around.
Yeah, my little boy was obsessed with his penis forever. You know what I mean? That's a real stage, and
Yeah.
the oral stage, you know what I mean? All
Right.
that- those are, you know, I think that you got to pick and choose. It's like,
Right.
Turns out Erickson was a crazy one, but his stages of development, you know what I mean? Like inferiority versus industry, you know, which is, and then we're in generativity versus stagnation. That's our lifespan. Like I know that for me, if I'm stagnant, I'm not thriving. but when I'm generating movement in my life and growing and generating, I'm thriving. You know what I mean? And so, but turns out Erickson was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You know what I mean?
Right.
But so some of Freud's stuff you might be able to take, some of it not. But
well, and then those were like the first guys to ever
sure
come forth with something. So they kind of solidified themselves in that way.
Yeah.
And there's I mean, the theories that come out of today's world are just as cuckoo or whatever.
Yeah.
But
you know, what's funny is too, is everyone, when I was leaving the ICU, and, everyone kind of knows my pedigree or my resume, and, firefighter, paramedic, ICU nurse, 20 years, like I'm kind of, and everyone's like, so, because technically I applied for 3 jobs. I applied for the emergency department, the ICU, and then psych. Psych was my number one job. I totally wanted to pivot. And then when everyone was, and I got offered the job in the ED, but I took the psych one, but in every single person, I mean, 9 out of 10 were like, you're going into psych?
Mm-hmm.
That's just, those people are crazy. I mean, it was the most negative response by everybody.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that has to contribute to part of the problem.
Right.
Is it people, they don't want to be a part of the solution, man. They just want to throw them out on an island and let them all just go crazy out there.
Well, this goes back to what'd you call it? Machism or
machismo?
Yeah, machismo. No, it goes back to that because if you came over today and Casey goes, hey, how are you doing, Nick? And you go, oh, I just got over having a cold. No big deal. Like, oh, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah.
You reverse it and you go, hey, Nick, how are you doing? You go, I just got out of getting this. I went to the psych ward for 2 weeks. I kind of had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Immediately, I don't know if he would, but I would be like, flags up. I'd be watching you closer. I'd be taking little mental notes.
You go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You go back to, right? Like, am I safe?
I would
safe
question.
here,
I would
right?
question.
Well, a cold, I don't feel threatened by.
Not at all.
Right?
But that's the stigma that's on
is that
top
a knife?
of.
What kind of object is that in your pocket?
Sure, whatever.
No, really.
Or is this really Nick? Or is Nick still here with me? Or is he? Did he check? Did half of him check out?
It's got to be trust and fear based. It's
Right.
got to be
Well,
at a human level,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it goes back to not knowing. It's that
which
the
creates
unknown
fear,
world.
not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you have that unknown of, is it really you? Is it still there? But that stigma is not only at the professional level, it's at the public level too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have all this, it's not a gun problem, it's a mental problem type,
Sure.
all that kind of stuff. We're so far behind on mental health, and no one can take it seriously because it's like, no, just push through, you're fine, you're fine.
And it's
you don't have
arduous too.
pain.
It's not just depression.
No.
It's multiple factors. It's
Right.
It's substance issues. It's childhood disintegration from childhood issues and stuff like that. It is depression. It is anxiety. It's there's comorbidities too. So it's arduous at best.
It is.
Or at the very least. Sorry.
Right.
And people want to be able to help people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, physicians want to be able to spend their time effectively, and and I want to be able to play detective and figure out what's going on, and then I want to be able to give you a solution. But mental health is this perpetual, ongoing, and we might not ever get you better.
I think that, and I also think that if you're sick, if you have broken bones, it doesn't hurt the surgeon to fix you, to put you back together.
So
right?
true. And not to mention, you're asleep, you can't touch me, it's
No,
sterile.
it's fine.
Right.
But if I'm talking to you in a mental state and we're going through some things and you break down, you say, my mom abused me, it's going to hit me maybe as hard as it's hitting you.
Yeah, it's not a sterile environment anymore.
No.
Now
and there's no
yeah.
there's no boundary. Like that emotional, spiritual power is going to come flying at me.
Yeah.
So if I'm not ready to feel that, and I think a lot of people that are healthy mentally don't want to expose themselves to someone that needs mental aid because they're going to get hit with that. And this is very psychedelic thinking, but usually it's going to wrestle some things around inside of you, and you're going to be like, whoa, no, I don't want to deal with that right now. I'm good. I got a job. I got a car. I got a wife. I'm good.
I mean, what's the collateral damage that occurs for a mental health practitioner? What
Probably pretty heavy.
Who is Nick Bahner going to be like as a result of talking with people for the next 10 years? Like, what's going to be that byproduct? And what sort of onus, what sort of responsibility do I have to myself and my family to make sure I don't also become, damaged?
You have to be, you're right.
But I think we are. We're going to be, relationships. build up and tear down. It's it's anabolic and metabolic.
You're going to have to be very Seabiscuit. Like, you're going to have to know yourself very well so that when you're exposed to these, especially the
Can we
really
break for
traumatic...
session? I think I'm out. I'm not doing it.
Doing
the whole mental health thing. I'm pulling the plug on it.
No, too late.
Yeah.
You're in Arkansas, dude.
You moved your family out here. You live in an RV.
I just want to.
You had lots of 37s. Those 37s, buddy.
I just ride a big 37 behind you. Like, nah, it's too late.
Yeah, Nick,
you're in, bro.
Nick passes out at night and you just sharpen my forehead. Yeah, you'll never not do this.
No, you'll just have to really know yourself, and you'll really have to know. You have to be very grounded because you're probably going to be exposed to quite a bit of earthquaking.
Yeah, man.
Like, I don't know, exposure. Whatever you call that.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, definitely that creates anxiety, that creates fear. But I don't know, man. I mean, the other day, a while back, one of my coworkers he's a reservist for the Army, and he was going, whatever I think they do every other weekend or once a month, whatever,
like that,
right?
yeah.
Their weekend warrior, and he was going to drill. That's the term. And so I was like, hey man, we'll miss you this weekend. You're going to drill. What are you going to do? And he's like, we're going to a funeral. Or we're doing a funeral. And I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. He's like, yeah, we just had some high-ranking officer just commit suicide. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, dude, 22 veterans a day are committing suicide. And I was just like, That was a moment that just was like, not on my watch. If I don't improve those numbers, or we as a collective body of mental health practitioners ever improve those numbers, I'll just go down with them. Well, at least I tried, And I don't know, it was a cause that just grabbed me, and it was like, I'm jumping into that, So, yeah, man.
It's definitely a noble pursuit, and it's a perfect time to get involved because
there's funding.
There's focus, there's interest. It's cool to kind of be involved with that, which
and there really is
good.
There really is. We're at a point in our society in the United States where the public will not allow government to turn a blind eye anymore. We won't.
No. Well, we can't allow it. We can't afford it.
Yeah, our school's getting shot up. I mean, I just can't handle to see another school shooting.
Right.
No, I'm serious. I got PTSD from seeing those. The last one, every one that happens, and my Annalisa's going into 3rd grade. And dude, when I drop her off at school, I'm just like, that last one that happened in Castle Rock, Colorado. I went to Castle Rock, and it is your class. Seems so safe, so clean, so blue collar, upper class, upper middle class, sorry. And I mean, you would never think that anything really bad would happen in that area.
Right.
And I was blown away, because we do, you look at those things and you try to, I come up with scenarios where, well, that only happens there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That won't happen to me.
I live here and we have this kind of going on here. And so, man, that sucks for them. And, I'll be thinking about them and praying for them, but man, not here. But I don't think any of us can say it won't happen here.
No. And it brings up the whole idea, like, I don't know, for the past 40 years or so, maybe more, it's always been, there's something wrong with you, not the system, right? And that's what people would tell themselves, and that's what people would tell other people. But now, like you said, the public will not allow the society to continue like this. It's finally, we're kind of going, there might be something wrong with the system and not the individual, because we're all feeling it.
And I think systems are the most transparent that they've ever been, and not by choice. I just think the public is just ripping them open, these government agencies, and like, no, we won't allow. Maybe to a fault too. They might be getting a little bit. They might be getting a little bit riot-like. Sure. Oh yeah. And these are such polarized topics, about like malicious forming and governmental coups and things like that. You know what I mean? And those are
right.
But I don't think we want to go there today. But it's definitely interesting times. Good, and but you bring up the thought of being overexposed. I still feel like it's good. It's good that we're starting to see the cat and how fat the cat is, and but.
Well, you just don't want. I see this in politics right now, where they say, like, people are fighting against the Nazis, they're fighting against white power and all these things, and it's like, okay, that's an extreme that you're fighting against. But what I'm seeing or think I'm seeing is that there's so much force against that what the other whatever you call it, the other side of the what do you call that? Whatever, the other polar side is going to come flying in.
Side of the spectrum.
The other side of the spectrum is going to come flying in, and it's not balanced either.
Yeah.
That's why people, like, I'd vote Democrat. I'm total Democrat. It's like, you're exactly the same as this Republican that's always voted Republican. It's like, we need to focus on ideas, no matter where they come from.
So true.
And I think that's what you were kind of saying before, is it's very complicated. These subjects are very complicated, and it's not just, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
Like, well, it could be, or you could give them an antidepressant, or you could give them the holotropic breathing therapy, or you could do this or that. Dude, and it takes so much energy.
So true, man. Just take school shootings.
Yeah.
Just have a think tank on school shootings.
Right.
Should teachers be armed? Right. Should it be like should our schools look like a jail or a prison where they're all wrapped in barbed wire and fencing, and they all go through a metal detector, you know what I mean? And that seems good. Let's do that, you know, but what are the byproducts of that, you know, and how does that impact our students? Does that actually make them feel less safe? Can teachers be trusted because they all have bad days to carry weaponry, you know what I mean? All sorts of things, so man, I do think we're moving towards more of a solution-based society. It's just that these are complex problems.
Right. And then there's different types of solutions. There's a short-term solution and a long-term solution. And then you have like you could even zoom in a little bit further, and you have like the really short-term solution and the really long-term solution, which Americans, and I would say the world in general today, is really poor at long term.
Of course.
Like, we go by
That's why we live on
100 years.
We want instant gratification. I want the quick fix.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Amazon's got 1 day shipping now.
Sure.
Fossil fuels.
Especially with the environment.
Losing weight, lowering my cholesterol.
Right.
Just give me a pill. Meanwhile, I eat at McDonald's for 5 days a week.
Right. And
we're American, bro. We're Western.
I think it's everybody, though.
Sure. It's Mr.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Totally. But Casey sent me a video yesterday of Russell Brand, and it was on patience.
Yeah.
And like, he was talking about people will get all bustled up like, oh, this traffic's not moving. Like, who are you to know how long traffic should take? Like, why don't you just sit there like, the train, where's the train? Is this train taking too freaking long? No, like, that's how long the train takes to get here. It takes that long to get here, so just chill out.
Yeah.
That's kind of, we're just ate up.
But they're
with
myopic, man. In those moments, they're myopic, and they can only see that it's preventing them from getting to where they need to get to.
Right. But it's that selfish type of thing. Like, I have somewhere to get, and you all are in my way. That's pretty typical.
Dude, these are the most fast. Like, if there's anything I love to talk about, it would be to talk with historians and like cultural anthropologists who understand societies from like a multifactorial standpoint, like how the economy and the industry and social media and all the other factors that form a culture in a society, and to be able to look at those and talk about those and say, how are they impacting, how are they changing people, who are we becoming as a result of that? Our wheat is so poor in quality, or we can't trust the FDA, or organic's really not organic.
Millennials are having less sex than any generation before them,
Yeah, man, that Goodyear blimp view, that 10,000-foot view, man, I just dream about going there.
We can get you there.
I know you can.
No, I mean, it's good to have that, but then also, actually, I think you had a sermon on this one time. You brought Jacob Fry up on stage.
What?
Yeah, I love this sermon. You brought Jacob Fry up on stage, and I think you put your face like right into his chest, and you're like, or you had someone else come up. You might have had like Lucky Kuski, and you put his face right in his chest. He goes, just describe what you're seeing. And he had like a red shirt on. And he's like, I see red. Okay. And then you pulled him back several feet away, and you're like, now describe him. He's like, oh, it's Jacob, and he's wearing a Chiefs shirt, and he has a hat on and stuff. And the point was sometimes you need a little bit of
perspective.
Right. Which moving will do that.
But stress will take perspective right out of you. Your schedule's too busy that day. All you care about is the train. Why is the train late?
Right.
And stress will do that. What is General Patton's most famous quote? Fatigue will make a coward out of all of us. And being too busy being stressed, man, will take your perspective right away.
But so then why? So then, wouldn't you take kind of a marine type hell week? Like you need to put yourself in situations or train to deal with stress, so that when the real stress comes, like that's why you run, right? You run to put this pseudo stress. No, it's not pseudo stress. Like eustress, I think is what they call it,
Sure.
like good stress,
Yeah.
upon your body.
Absolutely.
So that
Conditioning.
So we should continually do that mentally, physically, and spiritually, so that when real stress comes, that's what Jordan Peterson says.
Dude.
Jordan, he's always saying, get ready for the storm because the storm's coming.
Yeah, man.
It's not storming now. The sun's out. It's great or whatever.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah,
it's the whole Noah. It's the whole Noah thing.
Absolutely. The battle's won before you ever get there. The battle's won in preparation.
Totally.
So prepare for that stress.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then you see abstracts from different SEALs where they develop things where like the 4-foot rule, where they've
4-foot rule.
they only worry about what's within 4 feet of them.
A Navy SEAL. That's a Navy SEAL thing.
Yeah, well, one of the guy that was in Spec Ops, I don't want to butcher this because SciFi and Friends is massive. He
Yeah,
gets
right.
so many viewings. No, you never know.
Yeah.
But he was a Spec Ops guy, and one of the things that he had developed over time is that basically he controls the controllables, and then what's within 4 feet of him is what he worries about and controls. And that's I don't want to say that he's not worried about what's going on downrange,
Right.
and not having foresight and vision for
Right.
the battle or whatever is going on. Those guys are elite warriors, and so but what he actually worries about in the moment being within his 4-foot rule. So
Yes. Sorry, I was looking at that camera.
no, it's okay.
It died a little bit. That's very like Eastern type philosophy. Worry about like they go through. I don't know who said this or where it came from, but it's like you go through your problems and you can answer 2 ways. Like, can you do anything about it? Yes. Well, then do that thing.
Sure.
So you stop worrying about it. Can you do anything about it? No. Well, then stop worrying about it. That's more of an Eastern type of philosophy as far as it's like more of like a meditation type of technique where you go through your problems and you just sort them out and like, wow, why am I worried about the Clinton scandal that happened in 90s or whatever? Why is it taking up RAM in my mind? Can I do anything about it?
And I
No.
think different personalities too deal with that better than others. I know mine doesn't. I can, and I don't call myself a great analyst or a great intellect. I fantasize about being both of those. I'm not, but I am quasi analytical, and I definitely have the potential to worry about a lot all day long.
Yeah.
And it's fear-based. Like with my kids, I look at what the things I get upset about with my kids, and then I'm like, why did I get upset about that? And it's because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of that pattern continuing and then becoming a douchebag kid. And, I'm afraid of that. And I'm afraid of, for multiple reasons, how that impacts society, how that reflects on me. You know what I mean? And really, that's just a poor performance from me as a father. You blew that. So, yeah. And anyhow, so what else should we talk about?
I'm just thinking about what you said. 'Cause
It's fear-based.
Yeah.
The things I know, the things that I worry about are a lot is because I'm afraid. I'm afraid if that doesn't get addressed, or I don't control that situation, then I'm afraid of the outcome. Now, we all have different ways that we deploy or we try to manipulate the outcome, right? Which is why people have bad tempers, right? Because if they assert power, right, then I will get you to do what I want you to do so that I get the outcome that I want. If I'm bigger than you, if I'm louder than you, if I'm going to beat your ass if you don't do it, you know what I mean? Then I get the outcome that I'm afraid. You know what I'm trying to word? Then I prevent the outcome that I'm afraid of, right? And there's you have an intellectual way, right? You can manipulate people for good and for bad, you know what I mean? And all different approaches. And so,
Right.
anyhow, go ahead.
See, that seems more obtrusive than like an Eastern type of like, just let it come whatever may, hakahe, whatever.
Is there a
comes.
point of too much passivity?
Yeah, definitely. Sure.
At some point, it's like, all right, I need to step in here
Yeah.
and make a change, rather than like, this is life and this is the outcome.
Sure.
Well, that's the stereotype that
Sure.
gets made fun of, like the holy man that's
Yeah.
like the guru.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
and then that's
you
where
gotta
that's where
fix your roof, bro.
And then
It's
morality,
leaking.
that's where morality starts to kind of chime in, and that melody starts to come in, and you act on, right? I mean, there's great sociological studies on how come that gal through New York City, like in 19, right, for 62 minutes,
Nobody
she was
helped her.
seen by, you
Yeah.
know, and what's that called?
Something about
Something basically, someone else. So
the observer effect or something.
Yeah.
yeah, the
Twitter.
more people that see a crime, the more, like if there's, they've seen that too, like in those shows where the park, where like if there's a group of people that see a fight, then no one will do anything. But if you're by yourself and you see a fight, you'll most likely break it up, or someone being,
Right.
Assaulted or something
Someone
like
else will
that.
take care of it.
It's
you know.
called I don't know. It's not called popular, but I don't know what it is. Go for it.
It's yeah.
It's
I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
So yeah, then you
What
have
was
to
that?
define your morals
For sure. that's
and
the-
then
Such a great topic. Come on.
and
Casey.
then
so where does morality come from?
and then
So
step
good.
in when your morals are getting infringed upon.
Basic human morality is when you step in.
So what affects the border of where you stand morally? Is that like an upbringing thing, or
Come on.
how you view life?
This
as
is finally
it
here.
treats
We've
you?
got a topic Casey's interested in, right? He's been like yawning. He's already left. He's already left the room.
I
Like
have
4
questions
times.
here
Gosh,
for
you got
you.
a small bladder,
I
Casey.
have questions here. I'm writing down.
Real quick, was it the kitty?
Yeah, I think that's it.
It's called the
Yeah.
Genese syndrome. or-
Yeah, but it's also
Genovese.
that's also
The bystander
that's
effect.
also been
The
revised by
That's what it is.
huh? Bystander bias.
Bystander effect.
Bystander
That's what it
effect.
says up
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now that we got that.
So can you repeat your question?
I don't know how to.
You said what affects the margins or the borders
Right,
of your morality?
right.
Oh my gosh!
Okay, and
Come on,
well, what's-
upbringing,
What's the general
your own research.
What's the standard of morality?
Oh,
Like that would be like people would make the argument for the Bible.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Where did we first discover that you're not supposed to murder somebody?
Mhm.
Where did we get that idea? Are we really going there?
We don't have to.
Probably when someone murdered someone and it felt bad. When they were a tree monkey. And they were
But
like,
tree
"Ooh."
monkeys might have felt good. Like, fuck yeah, man.
But maybe like his brother was like, that's not cool.
Higher levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
Tree monkeys
It's like
don't
gang
necessarily have a lot of
starting.
cerebellar activity.
Yeah.
It's like
No.
that's my nut.
It's more reactionary.
You know. They don't really about the impact of like
It's just all reaction.
I just
Perhaps.
killed my mom.
Perhaps. But I'm talking like advanced tree monkeys, like the end of the stage when we were like
Maybe
almost done
advanced
with tree
finger
monkeys.
monkeys, not tree monkeys.
When we were like
Have you ever seen a finger
almost
monkey?
done. No.
I can
Is
show
that
you.
true?
I'd love to see one.
Should I Google
Oh,
one?
absolutely. See one. With scale too. It
can't
really is
wait.
the size of a finger.
It's amazing.
Oh, damn it.
Go to right there.
So I want to take CRISPR
Right there. Look
and
at that.
take the genetics that make this small and inject it into a lion. So I can have a little lion. in my hand.
Domesticate it.
Domesticate
Yeah,
it.
that's not.
You ever heard of the...
That's not the most
I don't wanna-
capitalistic statement you've ever made.
Dude, I'm all about capitalism.
I know you
bro.
are. Here we
I'm
go.
all
Here we
about
go.
it.
Come on, bring it. Bring it.
Fuck socialism. I am.
Market.
I don't want to take away from the moral. This is a good thing. But have
Sure.
you ever heard of the 9 generations of foxes that were domesticated?
No.
It's a cool story. I continue a podcast on it, but just real quick, they had it's a Russian fox farm, and they had these wild foxes that were very aggressive, very timid, and it took 9 generations of selective breeding to domesticate them completely, and their entire physical appearance changed. They had like a droopier nose, their ears went down, and they were completely harmless after 9
dorsal
generations.
fin collapse, man, like
9
at SeaWorld.
generations. 9.
Right? Yeah. 9.
9.
Emphasis on the 9.
Back to your moral.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we can really have an intelligent conversation about that. I know I can't. I don't know if I can really contribute to that topic intellectually. You know what I mean? Other than just what you've heard, upbringing, research, culture.
But yeah,
You know, as far as what forms your own personal morality. I mean,
But I mean,
feel like
you
you
do
could
have
talk about it?
yeah, but yeah, of course, you have ideas on it. That it doesn't mean that you're right or that you're have sophisticated ideas, but you do have ideas, and that's what conversation is about.
Just
is getting
perspective based. I
yeah,
guess.
get the ideas out.
You have a way different perspective from me. We have completely different lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear where it might come from your angle versus.
Well, I don't really know if I completely know.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know what I mean,
too.
and so I don't.
Well, what we can say is that religion is a great starting point,
Sure.
like for
and it's
a moral
contributed for
life.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen, not Hawking, but Stephen, I almost said Harper, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, he said, and it blew my freaking, it was like I had to pause and just like slow down. Like, what did he just say? He's like, religion was the version 1.0 for the humanity. It's like,
Sure.
whoa, okay. That's okay. So it's the whole, don't kill me because God will punish you and you will go to hell.
Yeah.
But don't tell my slave that God is not real.
That's quid pro quo. That's retributive justice as opposed to, that's you did something wrong, therefore someone else has to suffer a consequence for that. That's tick for tack.
Eye for an eye.
Eye for an eye, quid pro. And that I don't necessarily,
But it works.
Sure, for some people, it does work for their system of absolutely. Yeah, it works for them. It doesn't work for me.
Does it work for society?
It totally would.
Sure.
Totally did.
Crime and punishment. How long have we been doing it?
That doesn't mean it's worked.
Oh, nice.
I don't know.
Nice. Yeah. Sorry, I should have listened.
No,
you're absolutely right. Yep.
Shouldn't there be? I don't know. Then you're getting into like
and functionality. How functional is it to really try and restore someone to character and right?
Well, doesn't it come down to justice and mercy? Like when someone cuts you off and they speed and they get a ticket, you're like justice. But when you get a speed and you cut someone off and you get a ticket, you're like mercy. Right. So where is that? Do you want mercy for criminals that kill, rape, and pillage, steal?
So good.
Or
it's a really good
do you
thought.
want justice?
It's a great thought.
Right? It's the balance between justice and mercy.
So we try to fix them most of the time. We'll throw them in jail.
You talking American
to a rehab facility? Yeah.
I don't know what we try and do anymore.
I mean, I don't think.
That's really another polarized topic.
Yeah,
our rehabilitation, our criminal.
It's great, flawless.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
Once
Let me hear
again,
this argument.
once again, too, is it quantity affects quality, man. And the numbers, you're inundated by numbers, and so we can poke holes all day long, but I'm assuming a part of them are really just trying to do the best they can, with the funding that they have and the numbers and my pops, if you want, he was a blue collar crime and that guy, all of a sudden he's I get a letter from him that he's up in a max facility up in San Quentin. He was embezzlement. He was charged with embezzlement and fraud, very blue collar, nonviolent crime, and he's up in a max facility. That's I think that's where he actually got stabbed in the eye, was up there. Oh, there's, if you want.
Yeah.
It's 522 though.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know if that's appropriate to insert right now, that story. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying
It'll leave
is
people hungry for the next episode.
It could. He was.
It will.
At that point he becomes a number, and they didn't necessarily pay attention to his criminal profile. I mean, why was he placed in a max facility place in San Quentin on a max yard? You know what I mean? That's just not was a proper selection.
Right.
But he became a number, and they just moved him up there. They threw him on a bus, and they're just dealing with numbers, and so that's hard because they're not numbers. They're people,
right?
And so, but I get it. I don't.
Isn't that the
efficiency is the word? It really is. I think that's the key word.
Isn't that the abdication of responsibility on a low level given over to the state level?
Yeah.
And it's continued throughout basically of the American history of.
This is such a great podcast.
We used to be, well, we can go all the way back. We used to be tribes.
Sure.
And if you embezzled, we'd kick the shit out of you. And then you'd be like, I'm not going to do that again. And we'd be like, no problem. you're back in, right?
Yeah.
And if you did it again,
Yeah.
it'd kill you. But
So let's just start
Exile's
a
worse
business.
than
We'll corporatize shit kickers, where we
Well,
just kick the shit out of people
listen,
that do bad stuff.
that's the Boondock
Small
Saints.
Oh, that
Boondock
is.
Saints,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everyone has a different opinion. Oh, they're crazy. They kill people. Oh, they killed the
Mercenaries.
the child rapist. Like, do we care? You know, that's that whole dichotomy of the good, the bad. Where do they fit? You know, that's why that movie was so great, because some people were.
I forget about that. Yeah.
Oh, some people
Yeah.
were like, kill them all. I'd
Yeah.
fucking kill them. And then
And-
other people were like, wow, they are murderers.
Boondock Saints
Who's gonna-
is that Tarantino? No,
No.
sorry, I don't mean to,
Not sure who that is.
because that's on your list.
Oh, of course.
That's on your list with like The Machinist, and remember all those you sent me when you were out there.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, you must watch this, and then when you're done with that, come back to me. We'll talk, and then I'm gonna have you watch this.
Boondock Saints. Troy Duffy, dude. Troy Duffy.
Yeah.
He wrote this script, and I think he told somehow he got in a fight with the studio, because the studio's like, no, you're not going to do this. I don't know. It wasn't that big of a deal. And he's like, fuck you. And he went on this whole road of like not making this movie, and finally made it indie. Made it really hard for himself.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, you had a great script, but he did. He got it made and everything.
Yeah.
Is it dead? Best scene ever. They shoot the cat.
Sorry, I can't.
Guns on the table.
Can't
It's very
contribute. Can't
Tarantino.
contribute, yeah.
Guns on this table. And what's his name? The long hair-
Rocco.
Rocco's getting real. He's ranting.
I killed your cat, you druggy bitch.
And he just like, and he hits his hands down the very end of his monologue and hits the gun. The gun goes off on the table and just smokes the cat, blows it against the wall, like blows it apart. And they're all like looking over. They've been drinking and smoking all night, and they all look over like, and the line, Rocco goes, is it dead?
Perfect.
Oh man, classic movie. Classic movie. Casey's been watching some classic movies.
I have
It's
been.
funny, man. You could go back through this, the script on this whole thing, and there's some really good. You could tweeze out some really good topics: the
Yeah.
margins of morality and how that's formed, the abdication of. How'd you word that?
Basically, community.
Yeah.
Responsibility given over to the
Sure.
state. you
Yeah.
know.
It's too hard, so you guys do it for
What's
us.
his name?
Yeah.
Oh God, Alan Watts. Alan Watts used to talk about this, to where in Japanese culture, your dad was kind of your mentor. So you grow up, your dad's a carpenter, or your grandpa, or even your neighbor. Like, you had this person that you became a mentor of,
Yeah.
or a pupil of, and then you would become. They would tell you the secrets and the wisdom and everything of this wood carpentry or whatever. Well, that changed when the institution of education came in, and the state says, no, we'll take you and we're going to teach you all these things. And so now,
Yeah.
and it's good and bad, because one, we don't have cults, because that's what would arise. And people would say that, no offense if you believe this, but people would say like the earth is 6,000 years old, and that doesn't jive in a science-based society, right?
At all.
But and that's a pretty mild one. Like, you can get away with that thought. But there are other thoughts, like, I don't even know. I don't want to pick on anyone too hard, but there are thoughts and beliefs out there that would really hinder you in our society.
Sure.
And by taking the pupils of that cult or culture or whatever and putting them in the state, it's like, all right, everyone's getting the same education, so we can all be on at least the same starting level, and we can move forward, because as a society, we have all agreed upon that this is the direction we want to go, and that's to Mars, and that's to a utopia. Right? That's the story we tell ourselves, at least, right? I don't know if that's really what's happening. But we've abdicated the responsibility of community, and what we were talking about was morals and punishment and whatnot. We've given that to the state.
Yeah,
and that's how
so
your dad
dangerous
became
too.
a number, rather than, no, my name is, I don't know your dad's name, Bahner.
Rod.
My name is Rod Bahner. I have a son and a daughter
Sure.
and a wife and everything, but it's hope it works out.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like, I think the opposite happened now that I replay the story in my head. So my dad was talking on the phone with my sister. You get a phone call a day or whatever it is, and you wait in line. And that phone call is pretty sacred. Nobody messes with anybody else's phone call. You give that person that respect during that, whatever, 7 minutes, you know what I mean? So apparently,
7?
I don't know what it is. I don't want to, and I don't know that at all. But someone came up and tapped on my dad's shoulder on his shoulder, his shoulder. He was carrying a gun on his shoulder.
Go on.
Yeah. And you don't do that. You don't tap on somebody's shoulder, you know, and interrupt that time with their family, you know, or anything like that too. So my dad was like, of course, we had some response, you know, and so it turns out he was on like a minimum level yard, you know, where it was just, you know, people that DUIs or something like that. And this guy had infiltrated that yard and been released. Well, he was supposed to be on a max level yard, and he was wandering. And my dad told him, you know, to go whatever. And the guy came back and ended up taking a pencil and stabbing my dad in the eye, you know. And you think about the impact. Was that guy just treated like a number? And is that why he wandered onto a yard that was less secure, you know? And now that guy can't see out of one eye for the rest of his life, you know. So you talk about treating numbers and not people and those kinds of things and how it impacts, you know, people. But
right,
yeah.
that brings up a whole
Arkansas, he's got one eye.
that brings up a whole nother
Yeah.
idea as far as do you I'm going to use the word again, abdicate people of responsibility of their actions, or do you say, no, you did this and you need to, that's justice and mercy, I guess. He had a bad childhood, let him off, you know. Well, he blew my son's head off in school.
Yeah.
But his dad beat him. You know, like where do you land on that?
Well, we need order, you know, and we gotta have a set of rules, you know, that we abide by, and we need order, you know. And I don't know. I guess there's a lot of gray areas when you give somebody mercy and when you demand justice, you know, and I think they have to be case by case. But once again, we're inundated by numbers, so the cases are piling upon cases. Yeah. And how do you treat each of those cases with quality? Quality goes down. Right. You know, I that's me to the bummer when corporations get so big, you know, and their products become crap. You know, it's like you overexpanded, and now this is, you know, anyhow. Sorry.
No. It happens on the largest scale down to the smallest scale, you know. And that almost brings us full back to the hobbies, where if you expand yourself too much, would you say an inch deep and a mile wide? Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Everybody knows that but you, Colton. It's nothing fancy.
No problem. I'm happy to join the club.
And you know quite a bit, so. But not that one.
You know nothing about Bitcoin, huh?
That's right.
That's what my ego did.
That's great. I don't
get the scroll out and be like,
bit of
do you know?
Yeah. It's really it's larger than a bit.
What else you got?
How did Sandra react to the pain of a tattoo? You said she's very pain intolerant.
So there was a moment where, you know, the artist got her all situated and stuff like that. And, you know, we were with a group of people, Mackenzie, a couple other people. And there was a moment where everyone looked over at me, and I had already anticipated that, you know,
like some serious struggle.
Like, hey, are you going to be with her? Are you going to hold her hand during this? And I just really felt like she needed to go through it, and she needed a moment with herself and her fear and the artist, you know, and stuff like that too. So I went and did something else and let her have that moment. And there was a moment there where kind of the group looked at me, and it was like, are you really just gonna let her, you know what I mean? You're not gonna hold your wife's hand or anything? So I was like, no, bitch, you need to woman up, you know, just teasing. But it actually,
but sort of that's the mentality behind it, you know, like,
well,
it was her cave to go in.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for saying that. And you know what's funny is that on the drive home, on the drive home, we talked about that, and she said, you know, I thought about the same thing in that same moment, and I'm cool. So glad you didn't. Oh, cool. Because it was a really fortifying moment for her, you know. Yeah. So it was good. It was a growth moment. Yeah.
So was there struggle though, or like did she?
She wants a half sleeve.
A half sleeve. All right.
Yeah. So she's down. I think she's down, struggle. But I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean. A little. Let me show you Colton's, kind of, you know, his rib piece. So you know what I mean?
Was it more of a fear than an actual?
Sure. Anticipatory anxiety. Yeah, absolutely. Fear of the unknown. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's cool. Yeah. And she has she definitely has some kind of avoidance behavior, you know, and so she doesn't necessarily go into a lot of those caves. She'll just kind of, you know, she's like, I don't even really like caves. Why do I want to go in there?
Nothing wrong with that.
But I've got bear spray.
Grizzly strength.
Yeah.
I got Kodiak strength.
Yeah.
That's cool.
To answer your question.
What other do you have any practices for mental hygiene, like daily disciplines or anything?
Absolutely. Yeah. So a slew of them. I'll create definitely reminders on my phone that are poignant reminders for me daily. And there's definitely, I go through seasons where there are things that I am, like I'm trying to quit chewing tobacco, and that's something I've got to focus on like every hour because I want to dip. I have those kind of proverbial things in my life right now. Like right now, I'm just going through a season of anger, and it is literally, I feel like I'm a recovering anger addict right now. And so I have reminders on my phone, you know what I mean? Like to let my kids be kids. I'm trying to be a better listener because I feel like I'm not, it's like that I think the latest Thor, what's his name, that plays his dad. He's like,
Odin.
Yeah. He's like, only with two eyes, you only see half the picture. Remember when he loses his eye?
Mm.
And it's that. And I feel like, and a lot of people that struggle with ADHD, I really feel they misinterpret the moment because they're just not able to be in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And
then they, ADHDs have a lot of temper issues, anger issues, and I know I'm undiagnosed ADHD for sure. I'm getting better, so I'll have, and I don't walk around with reminders on my phone, but so to me, let food be thy medicine. What I put in my body comes out of my body. So I'm very particular about what I eat right now. I gotta have a physical outlet. I gotta go hit a tire. I gotta go run 10 miles. I gotta lift. I gotta go through that. Yeah, and then I just, sources, my readings, my daily readings, and then the things I'm trying to focus on every day, so like, right now, like I said, I'm really trying to be a better listener so that I can understand the moment and not react improperly to it, and then I got to be around people. I live my life bouncing it off of you guys. I live my life talking to people, and so I need that. And the right people. I gotta have the right people. And if I'll have a problem, I usually will select the person to go give that. Because I'm like, I really need some sound advice, and I'm not gonna go to somebody who doesn't know anything about this problem right now. Right. So it's
that's because you don't. If you have a scrape on your knee, you don't go to a neurologist.
Yeah. So food, exercise, daily stuff that I'm working on, trying to grow. I mean, of course, there's things that are imperative. It's imperative, in order to have a healthy marriage, I got to be a healthy individual. And it's imperative. I have 3 children. I do not get to choose about being a good or a bad dad. I guess some people, you can just be a crappy dad and watch football all weekend and hunt, and just go to work or whatever, But I mean,
sounds like a good weekend.
Yeah, it does. And those are necessary, but I mean, they're all looking at me like, raise me, develop me. Yeah. Do you see what I'm going through? Do you see what's important to me? And so, those are huge topics. Yeah. So, but I know I got to have a healthy me in order to be a healthy those, and so I'm trying to answer your question.
No, I mean, you are.
Food,
exercise,
people, community. If you were in AA, it would be higher power, but man, I got to have that time with him and that source. I've got to maintain that divine flow because I am a professional asshole. I'm so good at it.
I saw it on your resume.
Yeah. I mean, I am so good at being a dick to the people that love me the most. And I'm a dick, and that comes out of me. I hate it, and I'm really trying to fix that, just coming into this season. I really, I'll use things like when I quit porn, I used a phone for that, a new phone. And I was like, on this phone, there will not be porn. And so I'll use doors, to walk through. And so I've been trying to use this move coming back here as like, cause I'll create like one day. Okay. It's been 2 days. It's been 3 days. It's been 4 days.
Momentum.
And that's big in the sobriety world. I got 15 years of sobriety. And so you could put an 8-ball in front of me with a bunch of naked strippers. The strippers I might go for, but the coke, no. You know what I mean? You know what I mean though?
Totally.
And I've got time. And it's like,
Right.
Okay, go back
you
to
ain't messing
day
up
one.
day one.
Tomorrow, it's like, all right.
You know what I
day
mean?
one.
Like, I've got 365 times 15.
Yeah.
No way. And that's kept me. That has kept me is time. You know what I mean? And so I'll use doors. So I'm using this door of moving back here right now to see if I can really buffet my temper and my anger, because it's taken over my life, to be honest with you. I've just been getting super pissed about the littlest things. Yeah. So, I'm going to be a mental health practitioner, and you just asked me like the best mental health question, and I probably.
Do you meditate?
Absolutely.
Like what's your technique?
I'll have sit times.
Yeah.
And in the mystic world, they call them sits or drumming. Just creating rhythm, and I'm really, I'm really tapping into kind of another person's terminology right now, and I'm not going to name drop. But just really trying to. What I can't stand about Christianity, what I can't stand about Christianity is that just for the longest time, and I see it all around me. There's literally gobs of stuff I can't stand about it. It's so mindless, and it just really bothers me. But one of the biggest things is it's just such a transactional religion. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel guilty. I need you to forgive me so that I can go on tomorrow and, and feel like there's hope for me being a better man,
Yeah.
It's just transactional, and that, like, there's no divine flow there. Like, you should be a different person. If this thing has saved you and you're connected and it's living inside of you, why are you such a fucking asshole? And why are you, and I say that on purpose, I could have not cussed, but why do you treat the world like dog shit? You know what I mean? Like, you're the worst, of people out there, and you have this Holy Spirit living inside of you. I ain't seeing it. I ain't seeing no fruit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
compared to a non-Christian asshole, that's like, well, at least you're not repping Christianity with you.
Yeah.
See, we talked about that. It's like good Christian versus bad Christian. Like someone that says, I'm a Christian.
Not
the name drop.
Yeah.
But we had this conversation a while back, and it was just like, can you be a Christian and be bad? Like, can you be a Muslim and drink alcohol?
Dude, have you heard the Bad Christian podcast? It's the #1 podcast right now. Except for Joe Rogan. Sorry.
Joe died, bro.
No.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Joe died yesterday, so they're actually in the #1 spot.
Oh, man.
But
just kidding, Joe.
As far as setting the
Totally,
example
yeah.
and
Right.
WWJD and everything that goes into that, it's like, you're not reminding me that God loves me or something.
You're not selling me on this
Well,
at
what
all.
right.
Well, what you said, I loved it. I see no fruit. I love that.
So I'm really
if I look
trying
at a Christian,
to,
I should be seeing the fruit that they bear.
in the just reading scripture in the morning or going through devotional and all these little kind of Christian things, 5 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of prayer. Remember the 3 5s, 5 minutes of journaling, we used to do in youth group and stuff like that. Like, this stuff just doesn't work.
Doesn't work?
Doesn't work. It doesn't work for me anymore, and so I really, there's scriptures that say, keeping in step with the Spirit, well, what does that mean? And so those meditation times or those sit times all throughout the day are, to me, to try and maintain that divine flow. Because if I really do want to be different, you know what I mean? I really do want to tap into this thing that I want to be different, and I need to be different because, like I told you, I'm an asshole. Really good at it. There's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of anger. And, one of the things I wrote down on my phone in preparation for this was just one of the things I'm trying to go through right now is trying to integrate my past with who I am now. And there's a lot of disintegration with people, and they don't understand. We're seeing the manifestations of that disintegration with people. They just haven't been able to integrate what happened back there with who I am today. And so that's one of the things I'm trying to do is to figure out, okay, why are you so angry? Is this just, and if you just fed this thing, is this now just a habit? Like you chew, you just get pissed. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't even think about it. I just smoke a cigarette. I just get pissed over things. And I do. I think it becomes a neural pathway.
Definitely.
And I feel like that thing gets coated with more myelin, and then that sheath gets I do. And it's the main highway you access. Fuck you. You know what I mean? I just, right? And so I'm really trying to take a look at kind of the stuff that I went through that, because I do feel like at times, like that there's something inside of me that I truly don't want to be in there, but it's in there. And it's just a mean dog in there, I mean, Sandra the other day, I just barked at her over something and almost just punked her like you would a friend. Like, what the fuck were you thinking over there? And you know what I mean? Like you would like a buddy, you know what I mean? Where you're just like, dude, bonehead, bro. What's this amateur hour? You know what I mean? Like,
except you're serious.
Except it was my wife.
Yeah.
And she's like, what is that inside of you? Like, you're just mean. She's right.
Have you ever read any Jung?
Come on, guys, help me.
I was gonna say you should look at some Carl Jung's Integration of the Shadow. Have you ever read that?
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah,
he's amazing. But
totally.
Thank you. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. Because so many people push that shadow away, and really
for
it's
sure
not integration of the darkness.
Dude, it's the most important thing for me, man. Mental hygiene and mental health for me, it is. I am so obsessed with that Seabiscuit, man, of trying to produce what will it take, how understanding myself and what I need without becoming too self-absorbed either, because you can be so self-help that, oh my gosh, I haven't, I mean, I ate a carb and it's made me feel like this. It's just like, fuck, man, there's a whole world out there, asshole. You know what I mean? Like you and your library and your homeopathism and I have to have this and this,
Totally.
You know what I mean? You can be without going to that degree, but I really am trying to, and it's really just because I want to treat the people I love so much better, man, and not carry on. My grandfather was like that, he was a quick tempered, he was a dick. My dad was quick tempered, he was a dick, and that I've inherited that, but I've also nurtured it. I've also petted it. My precious. Ooh. I really have, and it's a familiar friend. Which, getting back to asserting power and control, I get my outcome.
Good vibes.
So
there's something.
But that's why I was a fighter for so long too. Fuck you.
Have you ever gotten back into fighting at all? Even
I felt like I need to be honest with you. I felt like it'd be really good. It's
just roll.
Yeah.
The only thing what I saw so of course I would have to select which one, right? Is it going to be judo? Is it going to be jiu-jitsu? And I really like grappling and I feel like I really like that it's a gentleman's way of controlling the situation.
The gentle art.
It really is. And I've watched those videos. I've watched those bullying videos by Gracie's whole anti-bullying campaign that they've developed. And I really, it's offering somebody a nice way out. I love that. You're not just bashing somebody's skull in, although I love that too, at times, so that would be the one that I would select for sure out of all the roads, MMA, everything you could go, which ones you do. But what I saw is that it would require quite a bit. And so I've been reluctant just because, you need to be in the gym. You need to be rolling. And I don't think it's a season for me right now.
You think you could get there once a week? Because if you could get once a week, that's literally what our coach says. Like, if you can get here once a week, that's all you need to do.
But you run daily?
Oh, I'm running 60 to 80 miles a month.
Are you pushing towards like pain in your runs?
Yeah, I want to run that 20-mile race in Arkansas in December. Yeah, I want to put. I'm going down that road and seeing how far can I run. Okay. So,
do you know Josh Hendry ran a 200 miles?
I just was going to bring him up. He did the Georgia Death, or what did he?
Something.
Well, believe it or not, when I looked up that race, the race I wanted to do in Arkansas, he's done the 20, he's done the 40, and now he's he's an ultra.
I think he's done 100.
Yeah,
100 plus or something.
So the only thing is though and I don't want to. He very well could. I don't necessarily like the body that produces, and I feel like you can snap those guys. You know what I mean? And I've ran a lot.
They're gonna run away from you.
But it's like the best for.
No, it is good, but I still want to. I still want to be able to. I want some muscle mass. I want some density, and I want to be able to swing an axe or a maul. I want to be able to do pull-ups. I want both. And running I mean, look how flat my shoulders are right now. I got no shoulders at all. Yeah. And running's done that. I've got nothing up here. And so I want both, you know. But anyhow, getting back to jiu-jitsu, I think it'd be good. I think because there definitely is there's so much fight inside of me, and to be able to have a really good, positive way to channel that.
And you talk about getting winded, you know, running. You can run 3 miles and then start getting tired. And like start pushing. Or I've never been as tired as getting done with a roll, and there's not even like from neck, from jawbone to the bottoms of your feet, toes and all. Tired as fuck. So tired. And that feels good. It's like a sprint almost, you know. It's like just getting there and then kind of working your way back down, and
I think it's like the greatest manifestation of what I love about being dudes is that like we can get super pissed off, and no, like I can get pissed off at you, and like we're super cool, but in a moment I could be like, no, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like you crossed me. You know what I mean? And then we could duke it out, and then be good right afterwards. You know, and not that that's not what I'm trying to highlight. Well, maybe I am. I do like that about dudes, you know what I mean? But what I like about jiu-jitsu is that we can have a really intense moment where I'm pulling out all my best stuff on you. And in fact, to be honest with you, I've been in the gym the last month, so that, you know what I mean, getting stronger for this right here, right? Because
it won't help you.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though, or whatever, you know what I mean? And I love that, but I love the ethics.
It's like the hug afterwards.
I just love it. I love how much the rules of engagement, and I love that. And I love how the higher belts are bringing up all the lower belts and all that. So I love the brotherhood, sisterhood, camaraderie, and that.
There's something to say about getting choked out and getting tapped out like over and over again. There's something to say about that, kind of on the same level as Fight Club. Like there's nothing lower. Yeah. You just got killed.
But that's such a good place to be.
That's what I mean. The benefits of
such
actually
a great
tapping out.
Place to build on. You know what I mean? Instead of false pride and some guy who's got road rage thinks he can kick everybody. You can't kick anybody's ass, to be honest with you, anymore.
It puts you in check. What I mean? It puts you in check. It puts you in check physically. Like you literally now you know, like, oh, all those fights that I thought I was going to do at the bar, Walmart, like I would have died. I'd have been dead.
Yeah, that you fantasized about.
Yeah, like I'm gonna kick that guy. Yeah, he would have killed me. Yeah, and then but also mentally and spiritually, it's like you're at rock bottom, and it ain't so bad. Yeah, you know, like I can build off
and
of this.
Physically and physically, like you're dragging.
What's the likelihood of
Yeah.
getting hurt in jiu-jitsu annually?
Depends
How
on
many
who
times
you
are
roll.
you going to get hurt annually? Legit, to where like you might have to call off for work.
It depends on who you roll with. If you can roll with higher belts, you're much less likely to get hurt. Because you're rolling with spaz white blue belts, you're much more
don't want to lose. I'm a white belt. I don't want to lose.
Right.
Sure.
You know, like I'm.
Yeah.
I've. This is a lesson learned. Old guy, Rosario.
Or that goes to our gym.
Yeah, the old Spanish guy.
Oh yeah, I know.
I forget his name.
Yeah,
but
he owns Mucho Mexico.
He's probably 5'2", 120 pounds. So I am drastically bigger than he is, and this is at the
5'2", 120.
I don't know.
Very
150.
No, he's very
150. He's an elderly man. He's like a purple belt,
blue belt.
So he's way higher than me. But I go full death mode on him, and it's like, of course I can control him and do whatever I want with him. He's giving me form and stuff, and I'm just like death match. And then after that,
well, you're country strong too, so it doesn't matter.
I should have rolled with him and not commanded the situation. Like I have the best.
But it's also too what you're referring to what you know.
Yes,
right.
It was total inexperience.
I mean, you've wrestled with the Seiferts. You guys have grown up wrestling.
Everybody knows. You know, like when we roll, it goes pretty hard.
Yeah,
and really with everybody else too. But there was a point of like, this guy's just not physically. He's 60 years older than you are, and like there's no reason to just physically but now I could roll with him, and you're just rolling.
You'd be a good partner to roll with, you know.
Right. I'm not going for the kill or the smash is really what it was, because I don't know anything, so I'm just going to smash you with all my weight. And it's like, you're not rolling. You're
Right.
you're just smashing. And
Which when
You know, it might
in
be
your
really
gym,
good.
you find out who those people are.
Yeah.
Like
Problem
you're
is-
kind of like, oh, this guy smashes.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's cool. You know, this guy he tries to rip my legs off.
Yeah.
So you can kind of gauge. Like there are people that I avoid at the
Mhm.
gym.
So-
not I'll roll with them, but
Can I ask you a question?
no.
In levels of anger, considering yourself, you've been around people that are hotheads, quick-tempered, that are just angry people, right? Where do you fall on that spectrum? You know what I mean? Like I would probably consider myself like a 6 or a 7. I'd probably consider myself a strong 7, to be if I'm honest. Where would you consider? Because I'm going to ask you another question.
I'm holding a number under the table. I want to see what you say.
I'd say a weak 2 or a strong
That was
3.
good. I have a 2. I'm a 2.
I'd say a 2 or 3.
Really?
It takes a lot to like really get me going. I feel like because I try to see the motive of like, why are you trying to get me mad? I try to get in front of it before the emotion catches up and like takes over.
Intellectual approach.
But I've been furious before, who hasn't? But
Well, the reason why I asked
takes a
is
lot.
because you asked, have you thought about fighting? Getting back into fighting to help reduce that number. And so that's of course was going to be my question. Do you feel like there's been a reduction in your anger as a result, or do you know of people that got into jiu-jitsu that were angry, and they used that, to help curtail that, and it hasn't worked?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I'm not angry at people so much. I'm angry at situations. So I get frustrated, and almost every time I've gone to jiu-jitsu and left, like I was like, what was I mad about? Like, what was I worried about? Even small things, like when I was in school, like, I failed that test and it would really eat me up. And I'd go roll for an hour, and then I'd get out of there and just like, well, who cares?
On the
Study
contrary,
harder.
though, they're kind of opposite. I went from like a peace, like never been in a fight. High school, everybody treated me good. I tried to treat her like obviously regrets and like shit you said that like, why did you say that? Whatever. And then I start rolling jiu-jitsu, and then all of a sudden it's like I got a leg up on some people. I was like, yeah, you want to go? Like
Sure.
having
Yeah.
never been
Kinda
there
gave you
before. But now that you know kind of what's going on, or at least if
Yeah.
something happened, I know where I'd start. I'm gonna go to the ground because that's where I'm
Sure.
trained or
Yeah.
whatever. Versus somebody
Which is the other
who's-
side of the
yeah,
spectrum.
who's coming from the other side and like
I need
Now
I
that's-
need a reduction in
right.
anger. I need an outlet. Yeah.
now that's out of me. I don't need to do that or prove that or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been overall good.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I've considered it
Well, with your daughter,
multiple times.
with your kids doing it,
And it's been hard too with my kids doing it, because I
Yeah.
feel like a total moron, because you really need to reinforce that stuff they're learning. If they're there for an hour and it's really, really good.
Right.
But they'll come home and then they want to roll together. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It'd be really good if I I watch some YouTube videos and stuff like that, and you can learn a lot that way. But it'd be really good if I was also rolling. It's like, no.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I mean, just give it a shot. I mean, it's like you might do it and might not be your thing. It might not fit at all. You might go, "Wow, why do you guys do this so much? It sucked. I'm gonna go run. That's my thing."
Yeah.
So it's not like you're committing your life to it, but
Well,
to
I mean,
try it.
can you just, it's like I refer to a person that got into jiu-jitsu that I used to work with, and this guy, like, he started competing because it's a good litmus test and all that, and I feel like people are commonly, get pushed into that. Well, once you come to this tournament, kind of see where you're at, where you measure up to other blue belts and that stuff. And I think that's, but then all of a sudden, it's just like, it's he's in the gym, and then he lost his tooth, and then he broke his nose, and then he was out for work, and
he's rolling hard then.
do jiu-jitsu, and his wife was in it, and they're competing, their son, and it's just like, and I worry about that, because I'm just like, I don't want to be a jiu-jitsu family.
You don't have to do that though.
You know what I mean? Like I do.
You might want to after you try it.
I don't want to fucking do it. Okay.
You don't have to. You can wear mouthpieces.
Come on, one
too,
roll,
for
one roll.
Teeth coming out,
Oh,
like
definitely.
Yeah,
they
you know what I mean,
recommend it.
and that might be his personality too. I mean,
Yeah,
because
he was going hard. If
he was a Viking
good
guy. He
God.
was a Nordic Viking dude. It was just So anyhow,
Yeah. Well, they'll talk about, 2 black belts rolling. When you think, if you've ever rolled with a black belt, you just know.
It's the most gentlest experience you might ever imagine.
There's nothing you can do.
yeah,
They just pretzel you up.
slips a finger in your butthole at the
Good.
same time.
They could do whatever they want. It's
It's a
unbelievable.
pelvic maneuver. No, it's not. Your finger's in my
This
butthole.
isn't Gracie.
I'm not tapping.
But you see two black belts rolling together, and
Yeah.
it's just smooth flow, and there's no ego.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly. Sometimes there is, but
It's
and
gotta
they
be.
do a lot of things. It's called a flow roll,
Yeah.
to where, say you have two guys going, and say they get a Kimura, they just hold it and they let it go because they're continuing that roll. So it's kind of like a got ya, but you continue. You don't go. You don't start over,
Sure.
and you just kind of keep
Yeah.
going through it.
Yeah.
So your smash friend sounds like he's just smashing,
Yeah.
like going hard.
I'm very interested in it. I'm interested in the discipline of it. I'm
Oh, dude,
interested
and you're in a great
all-
place, dude. Northwest Arkansas has got some great gyms.
Really?
Like, oh, it's great.
And I don't want to. I don't want to be like, well, but it's $1,200 a year, because if it's a medication for you,
Mhm.
or if it's a counseling session for you, like, and it betters who you are at home as a
Mhm.
father and a husband. I mean, like, why wouldn't you spend $1,200 a year?
Right.
You'll buy supplements, you'll buy
Yeah.
BCAs, but you
Totally.
won't. So
And it's a
worthwhile
skill too.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It is a skill.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it's a non-violent skill too, because I think, it's like, you'll never catch a SEAL fighting in a bar because he's got nothing to prove. And he
Right.
knows that,
Totally.
you know what I mean? Like, and so I think the benefits are endless.
When I was working at Red Oak, I had probably been training for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. And there was a girl there, Megan, who was a military girl background. She was in the military for several years. And she kind of looks at me in the hallway, and I'm like, what are you looking at? And she goes, you stand straighter since you started training. It's like, oh, okay. It just kind of gave me like just a 10% boost in confidence, like kind of what he was saying.
That's the coolest thing you could ever say to somebody as a
know.
result. You
Whoa.
stand straighter. That's very
Whoa.
Eastern.
Oh, I know. It's like,
Confucius.
whoa, cool.
It's
Yeah.
like, that's like fortune cookie stuff.
Stand straighter. Yeah.
You stand
But
straight.
it's kind of like what Casey was saying. You get it out of your system, and it's kind of like your delusions are burned away. Like, oh, I'm not gonna kick anyone's ass.
purifying.
It is purifying.
Yeah.
Totally.
Who
I'm
says
down. I'm so down for that.
that's cool?
Yeah.
Who says rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war?
Confucius.
Is that
I-
Confucius?
I don't know. Something.
It's one of those philosophies that I've heard Jordan Peterson, I'm sure you're familiar.
JP.
I
come on.
heard him talk about of
This guy's been name dropped way too
You
much.
wanna-
You better edit him out.
you want
Hell no, dude.
You love him. You're like,
Just
I'm boosting him.
muted every time.
We
Yeah.
love JP.
I know. Trust me. He's got a lot of good stuff.
Oh, it's Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Oh, okay. But how you want to be like as dangerous as possible?
Just
but
Chinese
not, but
proverb.
Be able to hold it.
Yeah, it's power to control.
Yeah,
Meekness.
to control.
Yeah. And I love that. And it's a hothead, and it's a guy who's fighting everybody who doesn't know who he is, and is, you know what I mean, is trying to prove something in that moment or assert control or anything like that. But
Right.
like once again, you'll never see a SEAL in a bar fighting.
No.
You're not gonna. That guy's been baited way more. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
He's been through it.
yeah, it's been great, guys.
Well, we got 2 more hours to go.
You need to start grilling hamburgers.
No, I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
We went 2 hours and 15 minutes. 16
Yeah.
minutes. Awesome.
It's when you start, well, I call these moments like podcasting, these things that I get to go do by myself, I call them tokens.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many tokens that you get to spend away from your family, because these are like, as you get married, the things that you do, you can't, it's so easy being you're single, and like,
Is it easy?
like, who do you schedule your day with, Casey? Come on, like, how hard can it be?
This
Right?
guy.
Yeah, and he's like, dude, there's a reason for this. I chose this. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I've got like 5 wives. I could have. It's a polygamist. But but then when you start having kids too, you know what I mean? It's just like everything you go do on your own.
Mhm.
It's just like this selfish act. You know what I mean? Not necessarily everything. Like, Sandra's super supportive and knows I need to go for a run and those kinds of things. But like going to have a beer with the boys, or that it becomes like a token.
Yeah,
There's only so many tokens that you get, and some are bigger than others. Like a 3-day trip, fishing trip, or something like that. Or like,
Right.
dude,
Right.
you just blew your whole pot of tokens.
Right.
So anyhow, this has been a token.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
It was worth spending. Yeah.
Good.
But I would love to share, I've kind of the whole Bahner boats thing, and
I know.
I've buried that whole thing a long time
Right.
ago, but I'm definitely down for talking about that sometime.
Well, like kind of maybe after you get, your foundation in NWA and get a house and a little bit of direction and stuff, then come back up. You can update everyone on your progress, talk a little bit about Bahner boats and stuff like that. And
we'll just go, that one will just be like, origins.
Bahner Origins.
Yeah.
Chapter 1.
We'll just do that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be cool. Well, dude, I'm super excited that you live an hour away. We're down there, I don't know, once every 3 weeks or so it'll be cool to be in the same neighborhood. Likewise, you're always welcome up here. Any last words?
Love when you talk. I'll always listen, man.
Thanks, Casey.
You got a lot of good things to say.
Thanks. That means a lot coming from Casey Seifert.
True that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
True that.
No, I love what you're doing here. Thanks. I mean, like I said, I feel flattered.
We've wanted you on the podcast for a long time. Every time I'm like, dude, Nick's gonna come on. Mickey gets all excited.
All I'm saying is, you just better make this sound good.
No, okay? you did all the hard work.
If you need me to send you some sound bites or better audio,
can you say?
I can script this thing out way better, because it's important for me to, I have an image, know, and
Let's
I need to
Let's start from scratch.
I want to come off. I want to come off as as very spiritual, athletic, healthy, intellectual.
Right.
I want to be James Bond. By the time this is over, I want to be James Bond.
You came out as real. I'll just say that.
All right,
you were real.
Right on.
If James Bond was real, you'd be him.
Yes.
You were a very nice, well-rounded James Bond character with flaws and strengths and weaknesses. The best kind.
Yeah.
Walter.
Well-rounded isn't.
My head is
physical.
It's an oval.
Keep running, dude. That's all I gotta say. Keep running.
Let's go lift.
Go lift. Yeah. Alrighty, well, we always appreciate you listening to the Sci-Fi and Friends podcast. I was going to say thank you. I've had several people reach out to me with screenshots of the podcast saying WTF, why are there no new episodes? So that was really encouraging and really cool. So I appreciate the support and the love that you're giving us. Nick, thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for
always
having me.
Welcome, like I say.
Cool. I'll be
Casey,
back.
always welcome.
Thanks.
You know that.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, all the good stuff. Patreon page is up. You can always give us a donation. We do accept Bitcoin. So anyway, have a great week. Peace.
787. 787 departure frequency on the side will be 1257.
25-7, thanks.
Sci-Fi wins.